Good morning. Bolstering British defences in a time of tension.
Barrow in Furness to become a blueprint for defence spending to boost communities across the country.
Well, that's after the Prime Minister joined a Vanguard submarine crew to thank them for their silent service.
Does a government loophole mean criminals can evade justice by changing their gender? Well, a new report urges the NHS and police to stop prioritising gender over sex.
President Trump and Zelensky have patched up their differences in a phone call as the White House promises a peace deal for Ukraine is very much on track. But is the Kremlin singing from the same hymn sheet?
A whiskey for the King and Queen as they return to Northern Ireland for their latest royal tour.
And a royal boost for the armed forces as the Prince of Wales makes his first visit to Estonia to show support for the troops fending off Russian aggression.
And in the sport this morning, well, Sebastian Coe could become one of the most powerful men in sport later today. The guarantees are in life, death, taxes, and Emma Raducanu firing a coach again. And Scottie Scheffler, 2025 Masters champion dinner menu has been revealed.
It's a chilly start out there for many of us, but it's likely to be the warmest day of the year so far by the afternoon. How high will the temperatures get? I'll have the full details in the forecast coming up soon.
It's just gone 6 o'clock. I'm Stephen Dixon.
I'm Ellie Costello, and this is GB News Breakfast.
I'm just because I didn't know this was happening.
Yeah.
Emma Raducanu, we only covered her hiring her new temporary coach
2 weeks ago.
Fortnight ago. Yeah.
That's right, yeah.
And he's gone?
Yeah, he's gone. Yeah.
Why is she falling out with all of the coaches?
I have a theory.
Don't be mean.
OK.
He doesn't have a theory anymore.
No, I do. I do. I think it's a father thing. I think there's something going on there. There's always a very strong father figure when it comes to tennis, often. And we've seen a little from him a few years ago, disappeared. I don't believe that it's just her. She doesn't seem the sort of character that's going, right, he's out. I think there's something else behind the scenes.
Oh,
I'm not certain,
That's
but
an interesting theory. Maybe
don't tell anybody I said this, by the way.
Maybe he should be the coach.
I think he used to be, didn't he?
I think that probably is what.
Yeah,
and I think there's a little career guiding going on. No, you're not right for my daughter. Next one, and
I don't think he's not doing her any favours, is he?
Seems that way.
I'll tell you what we should all cheer ourselves up with.
Yeah.
Because you said about everything that's guaranteed in life, death and taxes.
Yeah.
When you die,
right.
How about sort of going off with a smile? Because there's this great piece in The Sun this morning about Paul Broom, who's died. He was 55, but he's been buried in a Snickers coffin.
What?
Because he was a quick-witted, hilarious man, and so he's been.
He sounds a hoot.
So he's in a coffin that's labelled up as a Snickers bar with "I'm not" printed on the side of it. This was in Bognor Regis, but apparently it's all.
Did he decide on this? That's what he wanted?
So, yes.
Right.
His quick wit and sense of humour touched so many people. The coffin was a fitting tribute to his unique personality.
And Paul's family informed us that he was one of life's true characters and that his farewell needed to reflect that.
Yes. Yeah, it's quite nice.
So it's like a giant Snickers bar.
It's a giant Snickers bar.
I mean, it's not for me, but...
Yes.
I good for him.
Why not have a bit of a smile at a funeral if you're celebrating someone's life?
I agree. I've been to funerals which have been... And I've been to funerals which I've come away and said, I know it sounds weird, you go, I had a really nice time.
Yeah.
And that's what it should be.
It's a good funeral.
That's what it should be.
No, well...
Not sure about the Snickers bar, but all the same.
Hey, if you liked him, why not?
Absolutely. Good for him. Not that it's good for him because he's... I'll leave it there, shall I?
Yes.
OK.
Right.
Thanks, Quitty.
Let's crack on with the main news this morning. And amid rising tensions in Ukraine and the Middle East, the Prime Minister is going to bolster British defences today, but with a community focus.
Yes, as part of the plan, towns across the country will see millions of pounds invested in local jobs to help build up Britain's arsenal.
But the Prime Minister has joined submariners on board HMS Vanguard to thank them for their service.
Our political commentator Theo Usherwood joins us now. Good to see you, Theo. And tell us about this boost for defence, but with a community focus.
Yes, the Prime Minister is looking to boost defence, and this has been a key part of his argument when he increased defence spending to 2.5% of GDP by 2027, is that he's making the economic argument. Of course, there are many Labour MPs who are very unhappy that other budgets have had to be cut in order to meet this increase in defence spending, but his argument is that actually if we can build, if we can manufacture the products, the arsenal, the weapons and the artillery and everything that we need and Ukraine needs in this country, then those are highly skilled jobs which are going to be created and it's going to be a boost for Britain's defence industry. There's one problem, of course, because last night the French announced with their European partners that Britain's defence contractors are going to be excluded from bidding for contracts for a 150 billion euro defence fund. The idea is that if we'd signed up, or if we sign up very quickly to their demands when it comes to fishing rights, then British companies will be able to access that funds. But at the same time, at the moment at least, we're in the same basket as Turkey and the United States. And in Whitehall, there's got to be cold fury at this, because this is not the time to be haggling about defence procurement. We need to be building and supporting Ukraine, building what we need and supporting Ukraine at an absolute critical time for Europe.
What is slightly difficult, and I struggle with this, is the talk about it building communities, and that sounds all very well on the surface, but a lot of the focus is on places like Barrow in Furness, where they build a lot of submarines. Now, I know Barrow very well, born and bred. Barrow is a town currently where the shipyard is paying people a fortune. Which is damaging other local businesses in the area because you can't hire. And yet there is no Marks and Spencers, there's no Boots, there's no you can't buy a pair of knickers in Barrow because there are no, quite literally, there are no shops to do it. So that is an area which is absolutely struggling. It's on its knees. There's no shops in the high street.
Well, the argument is from the Prime Minister, and I defer to your knowledge of Barrow. I've never been. I've been to the Lake District. It's a beautiful part of the world, but I'll make sure next time I'm there I go to Barrow, Steve. But the argument from the Prime Minister is that these are just the types of jobs. And when he made that announcement, he was talking about the contract going to a company in Belfast to build the defence systems that Ukraine needs. And what the Prime Minister is arguing, and the argument from government, is that actually this doesn't just have to be a case of the government spending a huge amount of money on one particular area of the government of defence, whether it be defence, rather than actually this is something where if the government puts the money in, it's going to get something back in terms of highly skilled jobs, and of course then people are paying taxes on that. But this is an embarrassing, what's happened with the European Union and the French on this is embarrassing, because we're supposed to be having a meeting, the Prime Minister's, involved in a meeting where we're going to have military chiefs from around 30 countries arrive here in Britain today for a meeting of, when it comes to operational phase of supporting Ukraine. And we've seen Vladimir Putin and the Kremlin say categorically that there cannot be peacekeepers under any flag operating in Ukraine. And this is something where, the Prime Minister has tried to take a lead, and it feels a little bit like it's been thrown back in his face by the Europeans.
Is this a failure of diplomacy on his part, would you say? Because it seems like he's had such a close relationship with Ursula von der Leyen and with Emmanuel Macron. And now, as you say, it looks as though this has all been thrown back in his face.
It does feel like it's been... It feels like it's, Keir Starmer has tried to take the lead. He had that meeting at Lancaster House. He chaired that meeting on Zoom on Saturday. And he's recognised the problem, and he's seen an opportunity. And I don't blame the Prime Minister for this, for actually saying, that he can step in and do something to lead Europe at a time when Europe really needs leadership, let's face it. And for the French to turn around in this way, we haven't got time right now. This is perfect fodder for Vladimir Putin. If the French are haggling over fishing rights, and we need to be bolstering our defences, Europe needs to be, absolutely at this critical point, focusing on what is the most important thing, and read the room a little bit. This is an opportunity now to spend more on defence. It's about getting everything that Ukraine needs at hand, not worrying about arguments that go back to 2016 and the EU referendum. That's exactly what, that just feeds into Moscow's narrative.
OK. Theo, for now, thank you. We'll see you a little bit later on.
Thank you. Now, the Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky says he believes lasting peace can be achieved this year with the support of the US. It's after a phone call with President Trump.
Well, President Trump said much of the discussion was about Putin's 2-hour call with the White House.
Well, foreign correspondent in Washington, Sarah Firth, joins us now. Good to see you this morning, Sarah. And what a long way we've come from those scenes in the White House just a few weeks ago. And now this phone call between President Trump and President Zelensky.
Yes, good morning to you both. And Ellie, you're right. The last time we were speaking, it was around that incredible spat that played out between President Zelensky and US President Trump when they visited the White House. And what a difference a few weeks make. You had the phone call between Ukraine's President Zelensky and US President Trump taking place yesterday. And that came on the back of the day before the US President's phone call with the Russian President, Vladimir Putin. And now they've said much of the call was based around the discussions, and we've heard from the statement from Donald Trump that it was a positive phone call. And indeed, Ukraine Zelensky echoing that more positive tone coming from that discussion, which we think lasted just around approximately an hour. There were some other interesting points to note, because at the end of that phone call, you got a statement put on social media by Donald Trump and saying, we're expecting a readout. He sort of handed it back to his Secretary of State, Marco Rubio, and National Security Advisor, Mike Waltz. And they put out a more detailed statement that had some of the nuances in here about what other things were discussed. We know they discussed the situation in and we're also, we can see that particularly when it comes to the Patriot missile systems, that was something that President Zelensky asked for from Donald Trump to protect his civilians. President Trump agreed to work with him to find out what was available, particularly in Europe. And that's going to be very interesting to come back to look what the Europeans are providing here. When it comes to security, what they're going to be able to provide when it comes to defense. So that line in particular caught my eye. But at the press conference a little later in the day, you had White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt saying essentially, look, we have never been closer to peace. Just to break it down for you both, like really simply though, when it comes down to it, President Trump, he promised this 30-day interim immediate ceasefire, land, sea, and air. That's what he was hoping for. The Ukrainians, they said an unequivocal yes when the US delegation put that to them. There is no spinning the fact that the Russians have said no to that. What we've got instead is this partial energy infrastructure ceasefire,
which is already violated.
You've got both sides accusing each other of breaking that. We'll see whether that holds, and we know that the next step of this is in the coming days and weeks. You're going to have a US delegation going back to Saudi Arabia to continue those talks and see if they can build on a wider ceasefire. But as of today, you've got positive tones coming from all sides. You've got President Trump saying we are on the right track. However, when it comes to this lasting ceasefire, you've got preconditions that have been set by Russia, one of those being that there is no military aid and intelligence sharing with Ukraine. That's a very maximalist demand that's being seen here in the US as something that just wouldn't work fairly simply. And so in terms of that lasting peace, they're still pretty far apart, all the sides, on getting to the stage where you can see the guns silenced on the battlefield at this point.
OK, Sarah, good to see you. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you.
An interesting piece I've just noticed in The Sun, in their opinion column this morning. It says, we all want peace, but the US president, who prides himself on the art of the deal, is at risk of buying a dud. And that's because they say it's hard to believe the Kremlin isn't laughing at him. Because he does seem to have, you know, that whole, we won't attack you, we'll ceasefire on power plants and then attack a power plant. So that's the Sun's take on it this morning. It's interesting. I mean, it's very much in the Kremlin's hands at the minute, isn't it? And they don't actually seem to be playing ball at all at the minute.
Yeah, there's another analysis, one of the papers this morning, saying that Putin holds all the cards and he knows how to play them.
Yeah. Well, we shall see. Watch it very closely. Keep our fingers crossed. Now, have you sprung into action yet with our spring giveaway? It's your chance to win a fabulous designer handbag and 2 highly sought-after designer watches.
Not only that, an incredible £17,777 in tax-free cash to spend on anything you like. It is an amazing prize package and it could all be yours. Here are all of the details that you need.
Spring has sprung with a great British giveaway, and we're giving you the chance to splash out this season with an incredible £17,777 in tax-free cash. Jet off on your dream holiday, treat yourself to something special, or just save it for a rainy day. You'll also receive 2 brand new designer watches and a Mulberry handbag, so you can really look the part this spring. For another chance to win the lot, text cash to 63232. One entry costs £2 plus 1 standard network rate message, or text bonus to 63232. 5 entries cost £5 plus 1 standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start from just £2. Call 0903 681 3232. Calls cost £2 plus your network access charge, or post your name and number to GB12 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrants must be 18 or over. Lines close at 6 p.m. on the 4th of April. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Yes, good luck. Now, at 16 minutes past 6, let's take a look at some other stories coming to the newsroom this morning.
The teenager who was planning a mass shooting at his old primary school has been jailed for life with a minimum term of 49 years for murdering his family. 19-year-old Nicholas Prosper from Luton pleaded guilty to the murder of his mother, Juliana Falcon, who was 48, his siblings Kyle Prosper and 13-year-old Giselle. In sentencing, the judge said the words heartless and brutal were insufficient to describe the horror of the last moments suffered by his victims.
A 40-year-old man has died following a collision in Birmingham overnight involving a police car and a pedestrian. According to Birmingham police, the incident occurred just before 7 p.m. last night. The man was announced dead at the scene.
The RSPCA is calling for cat cafes to be phased out over concerns over the animals' welfare. It follows a surge in the opening of cat cafes where you can interact or even adopt some of the cats.
And Finland has been ranked the world's happiest country for the 8th year in a row. That's according to the UN's World Happiness Report. Scandinavian countries have dominated the top 10, while the UK is ranked at number 23 on the list. Apparently it's World Happiness Day today.
I mean, what a load of rubbish.
Yes, it is.
Why do you need World Happiness Day?
International Day of Happiness.
I mean, what a load of codswallop that is.
It's United Nations member states have adopted a resolution calling for happiness to be given greater priority. Well, yes, we'd all like that.
Is that, I mean, what do we pay these people for? Oh, yes, we need a day of happiness. So today you've got to be happy. I don't care what's going on. You've got to be happy today. Let's hope your dog hasn't died, because it's Happiness Day.
Yeah.
You have to mourn them tomorrow.
It aims to make people around the world realise the importance of happiness within their lives.
Oh.
So there you go. I think we all want to be happy, but we've got a lot on our plates right now.
Yes, we have.
Anyway.
Honestly. Will the weather make you happy?
I hope so.
Here's Aidan.
Heavy showers first thing will be followed by a warm, cosy day. Boxed Boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Hello, a very good morning to you. Welcome to the latest update from the Met Office for GB News. A sunny day for many of us once again, but with an increased breeze. However, that breeze is coming up from the south, so it's likely to be the warmest day of the year so far. We start off with a widespread frost across northern parts of the UK, but it will soon warm up with plenty of sunny skies. And for the vast majority, it stays dry and bright throughout the day. However, some places will see a bit more cloud compared with recent days. Certainly some cloud building up through Wales, the Midlands and East Anglia into the afternoon. Where we do get those long spells of sunshine, though, temperatures are likely to reach widely mid to high teens, and in some spots 20 or 21 Celsius, making it the warmest day of the year so far. And we keep those clear spells going into the evening. There'll be some hazy high cloud about for Scotland at this stage, but otherwise plenty of fine weather, temperatures still in the double figures at 5 p.m. Northern Ireland likewise a bit more cloud in the sky compared with recent evenings, but even here actually plenty of dry and fine weather. Always the chance of a shower across the Midlands, northern parts of England, but you'd be unlucky to be caught in one of these. For the vast majority, it is going to be dry and warm as we end the day, 16 or 17 degrees even at 6 or 7 p.m. But a change is on the way, and the first signs of that will be across Cornwall overnight. The breeze picks up and some heavy showers arrive by midnight, increasingly wet by dawn. Perhaps even some flashes of lightning out to the sea areas. But otherwise, with an increased breeze for many places, it's going to be a largely frost-free start to Friday. But it's also going to be a generally cloudier start to the day, particularly across western and southern parts of the country. Still some bright spells in the east, and even in the west it will be bright from time to time and mostly dry. But increasingly there will be these spells of rain or showers moving up from Cornwall into Devon, South Wales and perhaps Northern Ireland. With the breeze it's going to feel cooler, but temperatures will still reach 19 Celsius.
Heavy showers first thing will be followed by a warm, cosy day. Boxed
Still to come, King Charles and Queen Camilla are celebrating their tour of Northern Ireland with a whiskey.
Why not?
Yeah, we'll be talking about that next.
Join me, Camilla Tominey, for a frank and honest discussion with those in power that cuts through the spin and gets to the heart of the issues shaping our nation.
You haven't confirmed that you want to stand as leader, but you haven't ruled it out either.
This report basically says that he's not fit to stand trial. Is he indecisive? Incompetent?
I deliver the dose of reality Westminster needs.
That's the Camilla Tominey Show at 9:30 every Sunday on GB News.
The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We're proud to be GB News, the People's Channel. And as you know, we always love to hear your views. Now, there's a new way of getting in touch with us at gbnews.com/your-say. By commenting, you can be part of a live conversation and join our GB News community. You can even talk to me, Bev Turner, or any of the members of the GB News family.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation, isn't it?
Because
the failure is...
You're
the failure
deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this was the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Exciting news. Every Friday, my Patrick Christie's Tonight Show is going to have a twist to it. We're welcoming some special guests. You. That's right, on Fridays I'm going to be doing my show in front of a live studio audience because this show is about you and what you have to say. It's going to be the same big debates, same big topics, same big opinions. But every Friday night at 9 p.m, you are invited to come on down to Patrick Christie's Tonight to be a part of the action. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
If you want your news to be straight talking...
This is a nightmare for the Conservatives again.
Down to earth.
It's not just Nottingham where this is happening, is it?
And most importantly, honest.
Hard-working, middle-class taxpayers, they'll get their book thrown at them.
Then catch me, Martin Daubney, Monday to Friday, 3 till 6 p.m. on GB News, Britain's news channel.
I'm Christopher Hope. From pop stars to politicians, I'll interview anybody in a pub who's got a political opinion. Join me every Friday on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube or gbnews.com, or wherever you get your podcasts. This is GB News, the People's Channel.
Good Afternoon Britain isn't just about us. The wonderful thing about this programme is it's about everyone watching. It's an interactive programme.
Well, there absolutely is something to see here, and we're going to be talking about it more. Whether it's breaking royal news, please bring us up to date, or indeed a particularly punchy speech in the House of Commons.
Very, very curious.
We bring it to you live, and then we bring you live reaction as well.
That's Good Afternoon Britain, weekdays from midday.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
It's 24 minutes past 6. Now, the King and Queen continue their visit to Northern Ireland today.
Well, yesterday they met with the First and Deputy First Ministers of Northern Ireland at Hillsborough Castle, and then they visited Commercial Court, which is ranked the most attractive street in Northern Ireland, and it is gorgeous.
Just look very nice.
Lots of
indeed.
nice pubs there.
Yeah, well, they had a whiskey or two.
You'd have to.
Let's talk to Royal broadcaster Helena Shard, who joins us now. It seems to be going very well, Helena.
Oh, it is going well. I mean, it's such an extraordinary time, isn't it? And it's just so lovely to see this upbeat visit. This is the annual visit to Northern Ireland, and it's just lovely to see King Charles so happy and jolly. It's great. We obviously saw them meeting the First and Deputy First Ministers at Hillsborough Castle, whiskey during the visit to, Commercial Court. And it's just vibrant, and I think we need that at the moment. We're hanging on to it. I have heard that people have been saying that King Charles is looking sort of under the weather, but actually he's really, really very strong and enjoying meeting the people and obviously being part of the arts and tourism and giving everyone a G up, which is exactly what everybody needs. I believe that, all the music that's playing, obviously the pictures, the beautiful, the diverse culture and the workshops. And also I think King Charles visited the New Forge complex, which houses the conference and sporting facilities. I mean, it's showcasing really the best of Northern Ireland. And obviously there's the PSNI and the shared objectives and advancement of all sport for everybody. So it's promoting community, which is what King Charles is all about. So it's really the whole boost for everybody. They're seeing a bit of everything. Obviously, this is over 2 days, and I'm sure it's going to be a very merry time. And also to remember as well how Queen Camilla visiting community centres in Lisbon, which supports, I think it's a community, it's called Atlas, which is Adult Training Learning Support. It's the Women's Centre. And the Queen singing and just, hearing about what's going on. And I think it's the overall boost for everybody, which is really, really very good. And I think the sports, the community value is worth so much. So I'm looking forward to seeing how everything pans out, especially as we have so much going on. And obviously not to forget as well, Prince William at the moment is, international diplomacy is such a great soft power. He's in Estonia as well. This has been arranged for a long time over the last couple, a long, long time, but he's going to be there on a 2-day trip on behalf of our government and the Foreign Office, reassuring Estonians, obviously, of our commitment to both security and everything, and obviously, geeing up our troops and seeing exactly what is going on there. I mean, it's so great to see him really as centre stage. He really is the statesman now, and it's the Mercia Regiment, I think, that's based there. He is Colonel-in-Chief of the Mercia Regiment. And obviously, he's going to see how they are strengthening the borders. And obviously, it's something like a 200-mile border with Russia. And it's absolutely the time, again, Prince William will be geeing everyone along. The royal family, Keir Starmer obviously already has visited the troops, and I think that our royals, our senior royals, really are centre stage of Ukraine diplomacy and Estonia. So
yes,
really
indeed.
Very good to see.
OK, Helena, good to see you this morning. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Good to see you.
Now, at 28 minutes past 6, as Christians across the world observe Lent, we are bringing you daily reflections from ministers around the United Kingdom. Here's today's message.
The GB News Daily Reflection.
Hi, I'm Reverend Brenda, Vicar of St Francis Anglican Church in Ingleby Barrack, Teesside. A reflection for Lent. Sometimes Christians get asked, how can we have hope when the world seems so dark? Or how can we have hope when things in our lives are really, really bad? Psalm 27 says this, "The Lord is my light and my salvation." For Christians, God is the bedrock of our lives. We believe Jesus walks beside us in good times and in bad. If we use each letter in the word hope, H-O-P-E, we get his one perfect example. Christians look towards Jesus, the one perfect example. We look to Jesus as being the rock on whom we trust, and that no matter in good times or in bad, we can have hope because our lives are built on him. And his love for all of us gives comfort, peace, and hope. Jesus, his one perfect example. Hope in dark times, our guiding light.
Now, if you're travelling to work or school, here's your traffic and travel update.
Crash Law 24 sponsors GB News Traffic and Travel Report.
The latest GB News Travel.
Good morning, I'm Russell Holding. There are delays of up to an hour and 20 minutes to Stena Line sailings between Cairnryan and Belfast. On the M11 in Essex, the inside lane's closed northbound, just after junction 5 at Loughton after an accident overnight. In London, Church Road is closed between Leighton Fire Station traffic lights and the A112 Grange Park Road in Leighton for an investigation. In the Vale of Glamorgan, the A48 is closed west of the A4232, west of Cardiff after an accident yesterday evening. And in Devon, Torbay Road is closed between Paignton and Torquay after a fire near to Hollycombe Beach. And that's the latest.
You can stay up to date throughout the day by visiting our website, gbnews.com.
Crash Law 24 sponsors GB News Traffic and Travel Report.
Now, do stay with us. Still to come, Paul Coyte will be here with all your sport. That's next.
The royal family is an enduring symbol of tradition, unity and pride for Britain. At GB News, we celebrate what makes this country great. In our new Royal Newsletter series, you can join me, Cameron Walker, for Inside the Palace, an exclusive look every week that takes you beyond the gates and brings you the very latest from those at the heart of the monarchy. Never miss a royal moment again. Sign up now. Go to gbnews.com/royal newsletter and get the latest straight to your inbox.
Join me, Camilla Tominey, for a frank and honest discussion with those in power that cuts through the spin and gets to the heart of the issues shaping our nation.
You haven't confirmed that you want to stand as leader, but you haven't ruled it out either.
This report basically says that he's not fit to stand trial. Is he indecisive? Incompetent?
I deliver the dose of reality Westminster needs. That's the Camilla Tominey Show at 9:30 every Sunday on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation, isn't it?
Because
the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back,
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
and we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes and Co weeknights at 6 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Good Afternoon Britain isn't just about us. The wonderful thing about this programme is it's about everyone watching. It's an interactive programme.
Well, there absolutely is something to see here, and we're going to be talking about it more. Whether it's breaking royal news, please bring us up to date, or indeed a particularly punchy speech in the House of Commons.
Very, very curious.
We bring it to you live, and then we bring you live reaction as well.
That's Good Afternoon Britain, weekdays from midday.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
It's Patrick Christie's Tonight, and here We do things differently.
It's explaining the absolute madness of this, doesn't it?
It's explosive.
I mean, this is very good.
It's lively.
850. Your government sat there, Sean, and it did nothing.
It's controversial.
And the Middle East has been in turmoil since before I was born.
It's everything you need to kickstart your evening.
Everyone's had their Weetabix tonight. I love to see it.
That's Patrick Christie's Tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel. Hello everyone, Patrick Christie's here with an exclusive opportunity just for you, our incredible GB News viewers. We're giving you the opportunity to win a VIP studio tour right here at GB News HQ. Plus, you'll also get to meet yours truly. It's easy to enter, just head to gbnews.com/community competition and follow the easy steps. Don't miss out, enter now, and I'll see you soon at GB News. Full T's and C's apply.
Welcome back. We're going through the sports with Paul Coit, who's here with us. Morning.
Good morning.
What have you got for us?
I'll tell you what I've got for you. It's sports administration is what I have for you right now.
OK.
Are the eyes glazing over already?
A little bit, but it's IOC, isn't it?
It is the IOC. The IOC.
Yeah.
The International... Hello. The International Olympic Committee. Sebastian Coe is one of the front runners.
I like him. Is he a nice man?
You know what? I like him because the thing is, he's a hero. I see him as a real hero from when he was a runner. And when I was a kid and I used to watch him, he was my favourite runner at the time. So still...
Really diplomatic.
Yeah. That was a very diplomatic answer.
No, I don't mean it that way, because I've met
is he a nice man? Well, he's a great runner.
No, it did sound like that, but I've never actually properly met him. I've asked for his autograph once.
Oh. No, I've met him. I did an event with him.
Did you?
In the run-up to 2012, yeah. And he was very nice. He was very nice.
I think I would be very starstruck around Sebastian Coe.
Yeah.
So, but anyway, he's had a good run. He's had a good run. Of course he has. Of course he has. Where he ran the Olympics in 2012, didn't he? Yeah. So that was all down to him. He's the head of World Athletics, but this is the big one. Is the head of the IOC. Now there's a man called Thomas Bach who is in charge at the moment, and they wield so much power. There's been corruption talks in the past around the IOC, which obviously they will try and clear up. Now, Thomas Bach, he still holds a lot of power. He's in charge, but he's stepping down. So yesterday, and they're having this at a place called Costa Navarino, which is in Greece. It's a luxury hotel. There's 106 IOC members, and they all vote for who they think should take over. And I tell you what, I'll be honest with you, have you seen Conclave yet?
Yes.
No.
It's just like Conclave. It really is. It's like voting for a new pope. So they all have to go into a room, they all have to leave their mobile phones on the side, and then they put their little vote down, and then...
Set fire to them.
They set... It really is. You wait for the white smoke that you get 5 rings that will probably light up. But it really is like that. And so they made the first vote yesterday, and the front runners are Sebastian Coe, so he's one of them. And by the way, Thomas Bach, at a meeting yesterday, he was compared in front of everybody to Mahatma Gandhi and Nelson Mandela.
What?
I mean, really.
What?
I mean, it's like...
Oh, that's a bit much.
That's first-class kissing up, that is, if you actually give a speech like that. So anyway, you've got Sebastian Coe then. The other one, the main runners, you've got Juan Antonio Samaranch Jr. Now...
Do I know the name?
You do, because his dad was head of the IOC. So you've heard of him before. It's Juan Antonio Samaranch. So he's the son of the former president. Now, and there's also a woman called Kirsty Coventry. Now, Kirsty Coventry is 41 years old. She's a former swimmer for Zimbabwe, but she's Thomas Bach's... There she is there. She's Thomas Bach's preferred candidate. Now, it's probably because they think, we need a woman to run the IOC. It would look very good. And also, he really likes her. Although he's not allowed as president to actually say that she's the preferred candidate, everybody knows that she is. Now, you can't vote... Are you following me on this, by the way? I know it's complicated. No. You cannot vote for your own country. So Princess Anne, who is
Eurovision.
It is exactly. I mean, it is. It's Conclave meets Eurovision. Yeah. That's what it is.
Sporty version.
So Princess Anne is not allowed to vote for Sebastian Coe because you can't vote for someone from the same country. But what's interesting with this is Samaranch. There are 2 Chinese IOC members that also wield a lot of power, and they work for his charity. But they are allowed to vote for him because they're not from the same country. But if you work for the guy, it's obviously you're going to vote for. So there's arguments saying, well, this isn't fair. So it's then going to knock down, and then we'll see. So maybe later today we'll find out who the next leader of the IOC is.
Well,
I'd love it to be Sebastian.
Yeah, I'd like it to be
because
Sebastian.
I respect him as a runner.
Yes,
No,
you
I'd
do.
love to meet Sebastian Coe, but there you go.
Now, Emma Raducanu.
She won.
Well, who cares, though?
Look, he started now. You thought you had trouble with Eamon, and now
Yeah,
Stephen
but
is on the
that's
same
good.
bandwagon.
She's won. Let's start there. But she has also sacked her coach, right?
Yes, she...
After a fortnight.
She won in the first round of the Miami
Spit it out.
Miami Open against Japanese teenager Sayaka Ishii. I know you're not familiar with her work, but anyway, that was her getting through to the first round, and now she has sacked another coach. What does that say to you?
It means no one... Who would want to coach her? Now,
yeah.
Who possibly would want to coach her?
I mean, if you want a job for a couple of weeks, you know, maybe you've got a couple of weeks off and you want a job and you want to earn a few quid, maybe try... But something is going on there. And I don't know whether it's Emma, I said earlier, I don't know whether it's her father, but something does not add up. She said the relationship with... Vladimir Platonik. He's described as very serious and very professional. Bit like myself, actually. Bit like myself.
But he's the one who said, didn't he, coaching Emma Raducanu would be like writing a suicide note or something.
I didn't hear that one.
Career suicide.
Career suicide. Nigel Sears, Andrew Richardson, Torben Belts, Ian Bates, Jane O'Donoghue, Dimitri Turman, Sebastian Sachs, Nick Cavaday, and now Vladimir Platonik. Please, the next one, join the queue. Who's going to be next to coach her? There's obviously a problem. If you have that many coaches in the space of 2 or 3 years, something's wrong, and they've got to get to the bottom of it, or else she ain't going to succeed.
Yeah.
Do we have time to look at the Tour de France? Well, it's returning to Britain.
It is.
Which is... I hate this in the Tour de France.
Do you?
Yeah, I do. It's the Tour de France. Why does
It's not very patriotic of you?
No, but it always starts in a different country these days.
I feel the same way. I love... We always do something on the Tour de France when it starts, and we love the idea of the Tour de France, everything about the yellow jersey, etc., and the peloton and what have you. And Edinburgh is going to host the Grand Départ, which is the beginning. 2027, it's the third start in Britain, so it was in London and it was in Leeds. Where was it? It was in Spain last year, I think it was.
Somewhere like that, yeah.
Yeah, or was it Italy? They, like you say, they move it around. There's further details still to come. They think maybe the cobblestones for the Royal Mile, but we're still a couple of years away. Yeah. But I like the idea of being able to see the Tour de France in this country, but the actual Tour de France, it's French.
It's meant to be French.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, where are they going to start the Tour of Spain this year? Portugal. I don't know.
Liechtenstein. Who knows? Wherever they fancy.
Yeah. It's all getting a bit ridiculous, frankly. Right.
We're not happy about that.
Something to be happy about from Peter Mullins, who says today is the first day of spring. It's going to be the warmest day of the year.
Yes.
So there you are. Those are 2 things to be happy about on International Day of Happiness.
That's it. And you know what? I am happy today because we're going to be talking kabaddi, which is the sport. Well, I won't even say any more. The World Championship's being held here. It's the second biggest sport in India, and we will discuss later.
Right. OK, Paul, thank you. Well, it's going to be the hottest day of the year so far, as Ellie said, but what about other European holiday destinations? Let's get the forecast.
Ready to soak up that holiday sunshine?
Won't we need some cover?
No worries. All sorted.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations forecast.
For the time being, at least, the UK is warmer than Greece, where cold winds continue to blow. Warm sunshine in Italy, but very unsettled once again for Portugal into Spain. Spells of rain, strong winds, 60-mile-per-hour wind gusts in places, and an awful lot of rain as low pressure continues to dominate. That rain spreading into the south of France as well, largely avoiding Italy, where it's going to stay warm and sunny, but this cold wind continues to blow through Greece, although temperatures will recover over the next few days.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
In the GB newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK,
We're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
Good afternoon, Britain. Weekdays from midday.
Well, the end of February marks the beginning of the holy month of Ramadan, and the Prime Minister Sir Keir Starmer was quick to wish all Muslims Ramadan Mubarak.
Yes, he was, and the royal family also took to their Twitter feed, and they have millions of followers to mark the occasion, sending their best wishes to Muslims in the UK, Commonwealth and all around the world.
Which is all very nice, and quite right, of course, because there are many, many Muslims who are in the Commonwealth, which the royal family heads. However, what's been said for the Christians?
Zippo.
Because there's been a deafening silence from, well, the royal family, politicians and many others as Christians mark the beginning of Lent, despite the fact the King is, of course, head of the Church of England.
Yes, it's all rather disappointing. Shall we get the reaction of the former chaplain to Queen Elizabeth II, Dr Gavin Ashenden? Thank you very much indeed, Gavin, for coming on. Are Christians being forgotten in this country? I am taken aback by the fact that the royal family would take to their Twitter feed, which is watched by millions of people, to celebrate the holiday of Ramadan, but no mention of Lent, no mention of Shrove Tuesday, no mention of Ash Wednesday, nothing.
Yes, it's all very odd and it's not easy to understand because, as you quite rightly said, it's the right and courteous thing to do to wish Muslims well on what is for them a very important feast day. Why would we not want to be courteous and generous and supportive to people quite rightly pursuing their own religious devotions? But it's as well as two-tier policing, we appear to be having two-tier religion in this country because, as you say, there's complete silence for the Christians who still make up nearly 50% of the country.
GB News, the People's Channel.
I'm Christopher Hope. From pop stars to politicians, I'll interview anybody in a pub who's got a political opinion. Join me every Friday on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube or gbnews.com, or wherever you get your podcasts. This is GB News, the People's Channel.
This is Britain's Newsroom, where your voice matters.
It's just astonishing. With expert analysis and honest opinion, we don't just keep you informed.
We bring you unique perspectives you won't see anywhere else.
Can't argue with any of that. When the news happens, it happens here.
On Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 a.m.
Only on GB News.
Now, the Chancellor won't announce any tax cuts in the spring statement. That's according to the newspaper this morning.
The Daily Telegraph reports on ministers allegedly refusing to force the police and the NHS to record biological sex over gender identity.
For the Mirror this morning, no apology from Matt Hancock. He defends his handling of the pandemic.
The Independent Vladimir Putin makes a mockery of President Trump's peace deal.
OK, let's see what our guests make of all that this morning. Former Labour advisor Scarlett Maguire, political commentator Alex Armstrong, good morning to you.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Alex, let's have a look at this Times, Guardian as well.
Yes.
Looking at the peace deal.
Yes, well, it's all sort of here nor there, isn't it, this peace deal? I mean, it seems to be happening and then not happening. Trump said it was going to happen really quickly. I mean, initially, he actually said he'd have it done within his first day, if anyone remembers, before the election. But he's saying now there's been a positive phone conversation with Zelensky in a phone call. I mean, I'm not sure Zelensky's the one who needs to be on the call. I think it's Vladimir Putin who needs to get on the call and decide whether he wants
Well, he's already had a very long talk with Putin.
I was going to say, Putin goes, yes, yeah, peace, would love it. Now, we don't want any soldiers in there. We want most of... We'll have, we'll settle for about half of Ukraine at the moment. I mean, what Putin is saying as a peace deal is absolutely incredible.
Well, this is the thing,
goes,
right?
This is great.
This is the thing. So I want peace. I'm pro-peace. So I want whatever it takes to get peace. However, it doesn't seem like Vladimir Putin wants to come to the table. Quite frankly, if we're being honest, he seems very evasive about it, this whole sort of ceasefire.
Are we surprised?
No, not at all. But, you know, on the other hand of this, Trump is also, this is the other part of the story, Trump is supposedly eyeing up Ukraine's atomic sites. So he wants to take over them. And this is part of that deal, I suppose, where they would do this sort of mineral sharing. I think Trump is expanding it slightly, going, you know, if we took over your atomic sites, that would make you very safe, wouldn't it?
Well, it sort of would, but it just...
this is what I mean. It sort of
like
would.
they've got...
But it's a bit grabby, isn't it?
Zelensky over the over a barrel.
They have got Zelensky
They do.
over. I mean,
They do.
that's the problem. And what they call peace is actually dividing up Ukraine between Trump and Putin. I mean, really, this is. I mean, Trump doesn't seem to understand. I mean, a peace deal, you hammer out, you get both sides. You don't make one phone call to one and one to another.
Yeah.
You get both sides, and it does take a long time.
Yeah.
And everybody compromises. But actually, and the point is that not only if Zelensky doesn't accept it, right, will we go on supporting, will we, Europe, go on supporting Zelensky
That's a very
against
interesting
America?
point.
I mean...
I doubt it. I honestly doubt it. I really do. Because, I mean, at the end...
coalition of the willing.
Well, there's not many people very willing. That's the problem, is there? That's the issue. We don't have the military capacity to protect Ukraine. We couldn't. We couldn't fight a war against Russia. That's the reality. And we do need America there, and America knows it, and they say it out loud. The thing about this atomic site stuff is I just wonder whether this would happen quite normally, actually, in peace deals and wartime, but whether Trump is saying it out loud, which is what we're not used to hearing. That's the questions I'm sort of thinking about in my head. Because obviously, I mean, we had the Marshall Plan here. We pretty much sold our country out to America after the war, and we bought all American goods with their money. That's how we recovered. I do wonder sometimes whether that's what happens. We just don't say it.
I think, well, yes, I mean...
Let's not, because we'll use all our time talking
Sorry,
about
yeah,
this.
let's move on.
When I do want to talk, Scarlett, and this is in The Guardian this morning, about austerity 2.0.
I know, this is really terrible, isn't it? Because we know from what happened in 2010, 11, 12, that austerity is really, really bad for Britain. It's bad.
But it was necessary. And I mean, the argument here would be if austerity is what we get rather than tax rises in the spring statement, the emergency budget in a week or so, it's necessary.
No,
You don't think so?
No, I don't think. No, I think we stop the fiscal rules and we borrow. I mean, look, after the Second World War, that's what the Americans did, right? And actually, they put themselves on good footing. After 2010, we came in for austerity. We cut everything. People were incredibly poor, and we're in a slump. We've been in a slump for the last 14 years, and I just think that actually this is going to slump us some more.
But if we borrow even more, I mean, the argument is you don't want to do that. The markets won't like it. We'll be paying off the interest for decades and decades and decades.
Look, but austerity means... Yes, but Stephen, what does austerity actually mean, right? It means that Britain isn't working properly. It means that we go on having these incredible waiting lists so that people can't work because, you know, they haven't had knee or hip operations.
Does it?
I'm just beginning to wonder what the difference between this government is and David Cameron's government in 2010. They seem to be sending all the same signals: increase defence spending, cut budgets back. And the reality
is... you should like them then, shouldn't you?
Well, I think the question is that the country voted for something different, didn't it? This is not the manifesto that the country voted for. And I think, you know, this is the problem. When you get politicians and you get parties that come in on a completely different agenda and they start changing it up, well, I think the public starts to rightfully ask, did I vote for the Tories or did I vote for the Labour Party?
Come on, then. As someone who I imagine probably didn't vote for this government...
No, did not vote for this government. Yeah.
Right, OK. Yeah. So then how can you moan when the government seems to be emulating the Conservatives?
I'll tell you what it is that the budget that came out last year was clearly not a good budget. It didn't do the things that Keir Starmer wanted to do because they said they weren't going to have this. They didn't plan austerity, clearly. They're pivoting it to an emergency budget, which says to me something has gone wrong. They planned for more growth. They planned for the economy to get stronger. And obviously, Rachel Reeves' budget didn't achieve that. Therefore, in my opinion, they failed. Now they've pivoted to the right. Which is where the government's going very right, isn't it, Scarlett?
No,
it's going very right wing.
It's not going very right. I do think, to be fair to Rachel, she is dealing with a geopolitical, as we call it, crisis. I mean, you know, look at what's happening in America because of Trump, right? The stock exchange has absolutely fallen. Growth is low. I mean,
that's true. That's true. But we are spending money on nonsense stuff, though. Forgive me, because you know how I feel about net zero. Net zero is nonsense, and we're spending.
It's not nonsense. Climate change is real.
All right, you two. Sadly, we haven't got any more time, but we will see you a little bit later.
Yeah, we'll go on fighting in the green room.
Thank you very much. Let's get a look at the weather now with Aidan McGibbon.
Expect a warm front, moving from the kitchen right through to the rest of the house. Boxed Boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Hello, a very good morning to you. Welcome to the latest update from the Met Office for GB News. A sunny day for many of us once again, but with an increased breeze. However, that breeze is coming up from the south, so it's likely to be the warmest day of the year so far. Well, we start off with a widespread frost across northern parts of the UK, but it will soon warm up with plenty of sunny skies. And for the vast majority, it stays dry and bright throughout the day. However, some places will see a bit more cloud compared with recent days. Certainly some cloud building up through Wales, the Midlands and East Anglia into the afternoon. Where we do get those long spells of sunshine, though, temperatures are likely to reach widely mid to high teens, and in some spots 20 or 21 Celsius, making it the warmest day of the year so far. And we keep those clear spells going into the evening. There'll be some hazy high cloud about for Scotland at this stage, but otherwise plenty of fine weather, temperatures still in the double figures at 5 p.m. Northern Ireland likewise a bit more cloud in the sky compared with recent evenings, but even here actually plenty of dry and fine weather. Always the chance of a shower across the Midlands, northern parts of England, but you'd be unlucky to be caught in one of these. For the vast majority, it is going to be dry and warm as we end the day, 16 or 17 degrees even at 6 or 7 p.m. But a change is on the way, and the first signs of that will be across Cornwall overnight. The breeze picks up and some heavy showers arrive by midnight, increasingly wet by dawn. Perhaps even some flashes of lightning out to the sea areas. But otherwise, with an increased breeze for many places, it's going to be a largely frost-free start to Friday. But it's also going to be a generally cloudier start to the day, particularly across western and southern parts of the country. Still some bright spells in the east, and even in the west it will be bright from time to time and mostly dry. But increasingly there will be these spells of rain or showers moving up from Cornwall into Devon, South Wales and perhaps Northern Ireland. With the breeze, it's going to feel cooler, but temperatures will still reach 19 Celsius.
A positive outlook through the night will power through to a bright day ahead. Boxed Home Battery Storage, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Crash Law 24 sponsors GB News Traffic and Travel Report.
The latest GB News Travel.
Good morning, I'm Russell Holding. There are delays of up to an hour and 20 minutes to Stena Line sailings between Cairnryan and Belfast. In London, Church Road in Leighton is closed for an investigation. Also in London, Cold Harbour Lane in Brixton is closed off the A23 for an investigation. On the M25 in Surrey, the inside lane's closed clockwise, where a lorry's broken down just after the Clackett Lane services between junctions 5 and 6, causing delays. In the Vale of Glamorgan, the A48 is closed west of Cardiff between the Felgate Retail Park and St George's turn-off after an accident. And in Devon, the A386 is blocked by an accident halfway between Oakhampton and Bideford.
You can stay up to date throughout the day by visiting our website gbnews.com.
Crash Law 24 sponsors GB News Traffic and Travel Report.
We're giving you the chance to splash out this season with an incredible £17,777 in tax-free cash. Jet off on your dream holiday, treat yourself to something special, or just save it for a rainy day. You'll also receive 2 brand new designer watches and a Mulberry handbag, so you can really look the part this spring. For another chance to win the lot, text cash to 63232. One entry costs £2 plus 1 standard network rate message, or text bonus to 63232. 5 entries cost £5 plus 1 standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start from just £2. Call 0903 681 3232. Calls cost £2 plus your network access charge, or post your name and number to GB12 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 6 p.m. on the 4th of April. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
We're proud to be GB News, the People's Channel, and as you know, we always love to hear your views. Now, there's a new way of getting in touch with us at gbnews.com/your say. By commenting, you can be part of a live conversation and join our GB News community. You can even talk to me, Bev Turner, or any of the members of the GB News family.
If you want your news to be straight talking... This is a nightmare for the Conservatives again. Down to earth. It's not just Nottingham where this is happening, is it? And most importantly, honest. Hard-working, middle-class taxpayers, they'll get their book thrown at them. Then catch me, Martin Daubney, Monday to Friday, 3 till 6 p.m. on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Headliners on GB News 11 p.m. every night. It's got 3 top comedians going through the next day's newspapers so you don't have to read them, which is great.
That's a good point. He's lying. I mean, maybe he's not lying.
That's Headliners every night from 11 p.m. and 5 a.m. as well on GB News, Britain's news channel.
In a time of tension,
Barron furnace to become a blueprint for defence spending to boost communities across the country.
well, that's after the Prime Minister joined a Vanguard submarine crew to thank them for their silent service.
Does a government loophole mean criminals can evade justice by changing gender? A new report urges the NHS and police to stop prioritising gender over sex.
Presidents Trump and Zelensky have patched up their differences in a phone call. The White House promising a peace deal is very much on track, but is the Kremlin agreeing with all of this?
A royal boost for our armed forces as the Prince of Wales makes his first visit to Estonia to show support for the troops fending off Russian aggression.
His trip comes at a critical time for global security, a trip that will take in the plight of Ukrainian refugees, global trade, but crucially, NATO defence.
Also today, headaches, vomiting, nosebleeds. Is a landfill site in Fleetwood to blame? We'll be talking to the locals.
It's World Happiness Day today. Finland has been named the happiest country for the 8th year in a row. But where does the UK rank?
Finland?
Yeah.
Oh. And sport. The international break is on as England prepare to play Albania tomorrow and Wales play Kazakhstan on Saturday in World Cup qualifiers. Sebastian Coe could become one of the most powerful men in sport later today, but I'm not sure whether he definitely will be. And in golf, well, it's actually in golf cuisine. The Scotty Scheffler 2025 Masters Champion dinner menu has been revealed.
A chilly start out there for many of us, but it's likely to be the warmest day of the year so far by the afternoon. How high will the temperatures get? I'll have the full details in the forecast coming up soon.
It's just gone 7 o'clock. I'm Stephen Dixon.
I'm Ellie Costello, and this is GB News Breakfast.
I just wonder when you two were last turfed out of a nightclub by a bouncer.
Quite a few years ago.
Is it?
Actually, last time I went to a nightclub was quite a few years ago, but yeah, I have been.
Quite a few years ago.
I have been, actually.
Well, Britain's first female bouncer, who started working in 1985, she's called Delia. And she says the term bouncer is bad.
Oh.
Shouldn't be called bouncer. It's offensive because it makes you think of a gorilla with huge arms.
Door person?
No, she says they should be called ejection technicians.
I thought that was... No, I'm never going to say that. Yeah, that's very strange.
Isn't that odd?
Ejection technicians, yeah. I mean, it sounds like a fancier job title.
It does.
Than a bouncer.
But it's a load of rubbish, isn't it?
It is a load of
just
rubbish.
Yeah.
security.
I've got a bouncer thrown out story. Do you want to hear that very briefly? When I was a young disc jockey on the radio many years ago, and I went to a nightclub, and the bouncer, I was like, well, why are they... You know what, sometimes it's like, you can come in, you can... So I went on the radio the next day, and I said, oh, these bouncers, who do they think they are? You know, they think they own the place and blah, blah, blah. It's disgusting. Anyway, the next week I went to the nightclub, and this very large gentleman took me aside, and he said, Paul, a quiet word? I said, yeah, what did you do? He said, quiet word. He said, you won't say things about bouncers again on the radio, will you? And I went, no, I was... And he went, you won't say anything like that again, will you? And I went, no. I went back and went, go on, off you go. I don't ever say anything ever again.
No.
Because there's nothing wrong with those ejection specialists. Is that what they are?
Ejection technicians.
Technicians.
You don't want to upset the bouncers.
No, you don't want to. I learnt that
30-odd
21
years ago, I knew someone who said he was a visual technician at the local bus depot.
Right.
It turns out he cleaned windows on buses.
Oh, right, there you go.
But his job title was visual technician.
Visual technician. Very good.
It's stupid, isn't it? If you clean windows, you clean windows.
Yeah.
What's wrong with that?
Yeah.
It's a stupid job
That
title.
George Formby song, When I'm a Visual Technician. I love that one.
Well, God love Delia. Just looking at this, she's been stabbed, bottled and shot at since she first started working in Derby.
You put a real downer on that story, didn't you?
Well, you did. Thanks for mentioning
Sorry about that.
Poor old Delia.
I mean, God love her. She's been through a lot.
Yeah.
So maybe we can let her choose her job title.
Yes.
Well,
You're an ejection technician to us, Delia.
Yes.
Yes. Right. Let's look at the main news this morning, 7:04. And amid those rising tensions in Ukraine and the Middle East, of course, the Prime Minister is set to bolster British defences today, but he's doing so apparently with a community focus.
Well, as part of the plan, towns across the country will see millions of pounds invested in local jobs to help build up Britain's arsenal.
Well, the Prime Minister joined submariners on board HMS Vanguard to thank them for their service.
Well, political commentator Theo Ushwood joins us now. Good to see you this morning, Theo. And the optics of this are really interesting, and the timings as well, because Putin fears our nuclear deterrent, doesn't he? Yes. Now, we've got the Prime Minister out on HMS Vanguard for the first time, I think, the Prime Minister's been since 2013.
Yes, and he's received what's known as a hot debrief as the HMS Dreadnought, as its Vanguard has returned. HMS Vanguard has returned to port with submariners. You know, these men and women on these submarines, I mean, they go to sea for 6 months at a time, cut off from their families, and I think it's only right that the Prime Minister spends a bit of time with them and pays tribute to them. But it's not just about the optics, it's also about the cold, hard politics that's going to be taking place, diplomacy, international diplomacy that's going to be taking place over the next few days and next few weeks. You know, Keir Starmer did an interview just as part of this visit, and he made the point that Putin fears our nuclear arsenal, and he's going to be visiting today a manufacturing site in Barrow, up in the northwest, in the Lake District, to underscore the importance of ensuring that this country and the rest of Europe has the necessary armaments and is in the state of preparedness that we need to be in to see off the threat of Vladimir Putin at a time when it looks to all intents and purposes that Mr. Trump, Donald Trump, and Vladimir Putin are essentially carving up Ukraine between themselves.
It's interesting though, but if you were going to add this much money to this type of hardware, of course it's welcome, but it's years away.
And you know, military chiefs have made no bones about it. There's been chronic lack of underinvestment in our defences now for 20 years, 20, 30 years. The government hasn't put the money in. And of course, as you rightly say, Stephen, you can invest in new hardware, but the troubles with procurement is that you're always looking so far ahead because you need the technology to be tested, it to be built, and then for it to come online. But we haven't necessarily got that amount of time, we haven't got that luxury of time ahead of us. And part of today is not just about, of course, investing in our military and in our defences. It's also about, as Keir Starmer said on Saturday, following that Zoom call with European leaders, he wants to get military chiefs from around 30 countries into this here in Britain to decide on the operational phase. And I know it's very unlikely, and everybody says it's very unlikely, but Keir Starmer at least wants to be able to present a plan of some sort to Donald Trump that should Western or European troops be required on the front line in Ukraine to act as peacekeepers, then at least we have the ability to provide that support for Volodymyr Zelensky.
Meanwhile, bit of a blow, big blow really, to Keir Starmer being frozen out of this EU arms fund. How is that going to impact us?
It's a huge blow. This is a 150 billion euro EU defence fund with the money divvied up with contractors from across Europe able to bid for that money to rearm Europe. Keir Starmer has made a point of taking a lead, positioning himself alongside Emmanuel Macron. We may be outside of the European Union, but Sir Keir has, put the point across that we need leadership at this time. So I think the quid pro quo from, certainly in terms of defence, from the Prime Minister, from Number 10's point of view, is that when a fund like this, a huge fund we're talking about here, 150 billion euros, is made available, that British firms should be able to bid for it.
Why?
But the French are saying...
Why? It's the EU arms fund. We're not in the EU.
Yes, but I think there's a broader point about cross Europe, beyond the European Union, defence cooperation. And the Prime Minister's... I take your point.
We can't have it both ways, can we?
I know. You're making the argument, and of course the French want us to sign up to fishing rights in order to get it. But I think the time for playing games around, fishing rights and youth mobility schemes, just put that to one side for the minute. This is a serious threat that Vladimir Putin is posing to Europe. We need to get the best armaments as quickly as possible made available online for our defence forces, whether they be Polish, British, French, whatever. And I think, the old arguments of 5-10 years ago need to be just boxed up for a minute, and we get on with the job at hand. But I take your point.
Yeah, I mean, it's just, you can just see the arguments they're going to make, and if they want us to be part of, if we want to be part of the EU fund, then they want us to, fishing rights and probably other stuff as well.
But I think Number 10 has a valid point when it says actually, defence is slightly separate. This is a broader, bigger issue, and isn't necessarily going to be tied up with trade agreements or closer alignment with European Union rules and regulations. That actually, when it comes to the defence of Europe, we need to be working much more closely with our European Union partners, and just to be frozen out like this feels like a bit of a slap in the face.
OK, Thea, thank you very much indeed. Interesting with HMS Vanguard, because I've got fond memories of Vanguard.
Oh, yeah.
Because, she was built in Barrow, in Furness.
Which is Stephen's neck of the woods.
My neck of the woods. My family worked on Vanguard, and I had, when I was small, I had the actual official sort of plaque in the bedroom.
Did you?
Of Vanguard, yeah. 1986, I think, and she was launched by Diana, Princess of Wales.
Oh.
So she's a bit of an old girl now, is Vanguard, but clearly still doing her stuff.
Yeah, I'm fascinated by this. This was thought to be the longest patrol ever that has just taken place. So 204 days this submarine was away for. So departed in late August and came back this week. And 4 of the crew returned home to newborn children.
Which is sort of nice, but also sort of... it's what they miss out on.
That's what they miss out on.
Really
they have
tough being a
no
submariner.
No contact with their families. They don't see the sun, and they don't eat fresh food for that time.
No.
But just missing those milestones. Birth of children.
But, it's why we need to be thankful for these people.
Yeah, and it's right that the Prime Minister goes and meets them and says thank you.
Yeah, quite right too, yeah. Right, it's 11 minutes past 7. The Prince of Wales is in Estonia to learn about how they're bolstering NATO's front lines.
Well, whilst there, His Royal Highness will also carry out engagements in the capital of Tallinn to learn more about how the country has responded to the ongoing conflict in Ukraine.
Well, our royal correspondent Cameron Walker is in Tallinn for us this morning. Hi, Cameron.
Good morning, Stephen. Well, it's Prince William's first ever visit to Estonia, and it comes at a very critical time for global security, and it's highly symbolic because Prince William is the future head of Britain's armed forces, and this is all in the context of Russia's continued offensive against Ukraine. And countries like Estonia, the Baltic nations, are fearful that they could be next on Russia's hit list. And you may have noticed the Ukrainian flag and Estonian flag side by side behind me on the building. This is called Freedom Square in Tallinn, the capital of the country. And the UK plays a very crucial role in protecting Baltic nations like Estonia. And the largest permanent deployment anywhere in the world of British troops is right here in Estonia. 900 British troops based at the Tapa Army Base, which is about 62 miles or an hour and a half's drive from the Russian border. And Prince William will be visiting those troops later on this week. The second member of the royal family to do so this year. Prince Edward, Prince William's uncle, visited back in January. Now, Prince William is Colonel-in-Chief of the Mercian Regiment, and they are taking over from the Royal Dragoon Guards, which was Prince Edward's regiment, as the battle group in charge, basically, of that base. And over the next 6 months or so, they're going to be taking part in a number of training exercises alongside other NATO members, particularly Estonian troops as well as French troops. But today, Prince William is focusing his time here in Tallinn. He's going to be meeting a number of the estimated 60,000 Ukrainian refugees who fled Ukraine to come to Estonia post the Russian invasion. That's the equivalent of around 3 million coming to the UK if you go by population size. So Prince William will be visiting a school which was set up very quickly to continue the education of children, Ukrainian children, as they fled to Estonia, and he'll be hearing about their mental well-being and how they are being supported to settle into their new lives here in Estonia. Now, sources close to Prince William tell me that he's still being dubbed as a global statesman, and his first stop here in Estonia will be a bilateral meeting with the president of Estonia, Alar Karis. And of course, Estonia, a former Soviet state, but I get the impression that they'd rather be known as a small tech-savvy nation now, because of course they're part of the European Union, they've joined the Eurozone, and it has the most business startups which have grown more than $1 billion US dollars per head on the planet. So in terms of the British government, they could be using Prince William as a kind of soft power to strengthen relations with a European partner. But of course, Prince William's presence here in Estonia, particularly when he goes to the army base, sends a very powerful image because it is so close to the Russian border. This, of course, at a time where President Trump is demanding other NATO nations step up their defence spending or risk pulling out of or risk US support being pulled out of the country. And Prince William being here sends quite a clear message because it could perhaps remind the West, but it's better to unite rather than divide.
There for us in Tallinn in Estonia. Thank you very much. Good to see you.
It's 7:15. Let's have a look at some of the other key stories this morning.
A teenager has been jailed for life with a minimum term of 49 years for murdering his family. 19-year-old Nicholas Prosper from Luton pleaded guilty to the murder of his mother, Juliana, and his teenage siblings, Kyle and Giselle. Court hearings revealed he was also planning a mass shooting at his old primary school before he was arrested.
A 40-year-old man has died following a collision in Birmingham involving a police car and a pedestrian. According to Birmingham police, it happened just before 7 o'clock last night. The man was pronounced dead at the scene.
And Finland has been ranked the world's happiest country for an 8th year in a row. That's according to the UN's World Happiness Report. Scandinavian countries have dominated the top 10, while the UK is ranked at number 23 on the list.
How do you work out who's happiest?
You have to go around and you have to say, are you happy? And then people say yes. And lots of people apparently in Finland say yes.
Really? Is that it?
In my mind, that's how it works.
Yeah.
Let me know if you know the technical way that this has worked out.
I mean, I just think it's nonsense.
But
United Nations World Happiness Index. Get a grip.
The Scandinavian countries always do very well. I can't work out why. They just have a good quality of life, don't they?
I suppose they do, but, you know, we all do all right. Mind you, some of it's attitude, because it's like, look at Australians. You ask an Australian how they're doing, they go, oh, I'm good. You ask a British person how they're doing, they say, I'm not bad.
Not bad or fine.
So that's the difference. It's a different attitude. But it doesn't mean we're more miserable.
That's true. Let us know what you think on that one. gbnews.com/you'll say.
World Happiness Days put me in a bad mood.
Well, don't be in a bad mood.
Oh, right, OK.
Because it is set to be the warmest day of the year so far today.
Is it?
Aidan McGivern's got all the details for you.
Even though we'll see a cloudy start, it'll be a bright outlook for the rest of the day. Boxed Solar, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Hello, a very good morning to you. Welcome to the latest update from the Met Office for GB News. A sunny day for many of us once again, but with an increased breeze. However, that breeze is coming up from the south, so it's likely to be the warmest day of the year so far. Well, we start off with a widespread frost across northern parts of the UK, but it will soon warm up with plenty of sunny skies. And for the vast majority, it stays dry and bright throughout the day. However, some places will see a bit more cloud compared with recent days. Certainly some cloud building up through Wales, the Midlands and East Anglia into the afternoon. Where we do get those long spells of sunshine, though, temperatures are likely to reach widely mid to high teens and in some spots 20 or 21 Celsius, making it the warmest day of the year so far. And we keep those clear spells going into the evening. There'll be some hazy high cloud about for Scotland at this stage, but otherwise plenty of fine weather, temperatures still in the double figures at 5 p.m. Northern Ireland likewise a bit more cloud in the sky compared with recent evenings, but even here actually plenty of dry and fine weather. Always the chance of a shower across the Midlands, northern parts of England, but you'd be unlucky to be caught in one of these. For the vast majority, it is going to be dry and warm as we end the day, 16 or 17 degrees even at 6 or 7 p.m. But a change is on the way, and the first signs of that will be across Cornwall overnight. The breeze picks up and some heavy showers arrive by midnight, increasingly wet by dawn. Perhaps even some flashes of lightning out to the sea areas. But otherwise, with an increased breeze for many places, it's going to be a largely frost-free start to Friday. But it's also going to be a generally cloudier start to the day, particularly across western and southern parts of the country. Still some bright spells in the east, and even in the west it will be bright from time to time and mostly dry. But increasingly there will be these spells of rain or showers moving up from Cornwall into Devon, South Wales and perhaps Northern Ireland. With the breeze, it's going to feel cooler, but temperatures will still reach 19 Celsius.
Expect a warm front, moving from the kitchen right through to the rest of the house. Boxed Boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Now, have you taken part in our spring giveaway yet? If not, why not? Because you could win a fabulous designer handbag, 2 designer watches and £17,777 in tax-free cash.
Yes, precisely that. It's an amazing prize package and it could all be yours. Here are the details that you need.
Spring has sprung with a great British giveaway, and we're giving you the chance to splash out this season with an incredible £17,777 in tax-free cash. Jet off on your dream holiday, treat yourself to something special, or just save it for a rainy day. You'll also receive 2 brand new designer watches and a Mulberry handbag, so you can really look the part this spring. For another chance to win the lot, text cash to 63232. One entry costs £2 plus 1 standard network rate message, or text bonus to 63232. 5 entries cost £5 plus 1 standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start from just £2. Call 0903 681 3232. Calls cost £2 plus your network access charge, or post your name and number to GB12 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrants must be 18 or over. Lines close at 6 p.m. on the 4th of April. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Yes, good luck.
Still to come, do you have pension blues? Well, it turns out it's a growing phenomenon. We'll tell you more in a minute.
Good Afternoon Britain isn't just about us. The wonderful thing about this programme is it's about everyone watching. It's an interactive programme.
Well, there absolutely is something to see here, and we're going to be talking about it more. Whether it's breaking royal news, please bring us up to date, or indeed a particularly punchy speech in the House of Commons.
Very, very curious.
We bring it to you live, and then we bring you live reaction as well.
That's Good Afternoon Britain, weekdays from midday.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Exciting news. Every Friday, my Patrick Christie's Tonight Show is going to have a twist to it. We're welcoming some special guests. You. That's right, on Fridays I'm going to be doing my show in front of a live studio audience, because this show is about you and what you have to say. It's going to be the same big debates, same big topics, same big opinions, but every Friday night at 9 p.m. you are invited to come on down to Patrick Christie's Tonight to be a part of the action. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation,
No,
isn't it?
no,
Because the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back,
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
and we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Dubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Camilla Tominey, for a frank and honest discussion with those in power that cuts through the spin and gets to the heart of the issues shaping our nation.
You haven't confirmed that you want to stand as leader, but you haven't ruled it out either.
This report basically says that he's not fit to stand trial. Is he indecisive? Incompetent? I deliver the dose of reality Westminster needs. That's the Camilla Tominey Show at 9:30 every Sunday on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK,
we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
Headliners on GB News 11 p.m. every night. It's got 3 top comedians going through the next day's newspapers so you don't have to read them, which is great.
That's a good point. He's lying. Maybe he's not lying.
That's Headliners every night from 11 p.m. and 5 a.m. as well on GB News, Britain's news channel.
I'm Christopher Hope. From pop stars to politicians, I'll interview anybody in a pub who's got a political opinion. Join me every Friday on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube or gbnews.com, or wherever you get your podcasts. This is GB News, the People's Channel.
7:24 now. Do you trust the government with your money? Well, a new poll has revealed that 70% of over 55s feel that their financial security is under threat.
Well, 40% of those polled also revealed they plan to withdraw money from their pension pots.
Well, not surprising, is it, to be honest, the way things are at the moment. Let's talk to the CEO of Tally Money, Cameron Parry. Good to see you this morning. I mean, there's a lot of changes going on at the moment. Is that just undermining people's faith?
Yeah, that's right. We conducted research this month on over 2,000 over 55s. And, we found a whopping 93% felt that this Labor government wasn't going to protect their pensions. And there's an upcoming spring budget. People are concerned about this. And, we've sort of seen the economy go in a different direction to what the last budget was relied on. So, people are concerned. They're worried. They've worked all their lives, built up some wealth, and now there's a bit of a money grab coming from the government.
So what do they fear the government will do with their pension? Because they can't take it off them if it's a private pension. But is it all about how it's taxed and also how it can be passed on to family?
Yeah, that's right. It's a combination of inheritance tax rules changes, limits, and when they can apply tax there. It comes into effect when you die. It has an effect, the age that you die, whether your estate needs to pay inheritance tax, whether your estate is taxed with death tax on what you leave, and then whether your beneficiaries actually pay income tax at their income tax rate on what you bequeath them. So, and that there's a line in the sand whether you die before 75 or after 75. How you deal with your money, the tax benefit, how you've been incentivised to hopefully build up a pot of wealth for you and your family so that you're not a burden on society, you're not a burden on the taxpayer, you're at the end of your income generating life, and so you can't adapt. If they change the rules, it really is, people are concerned that they won't have enough.
And your poll also found that 40% of people revealed to withdraw money from their pension pots. What do you think that's about? Is that people quite literally not having enough to make ends meet, so having to dip into their pension pot early? Or is this the issue of trust again, not trusting that pension pot?
Yeah, it's more to do with people who have a bit more and have the means. They will go and sort this out and try, even if the rules change, try and adapt to that as best they can. They're motivated to obviously protect their money. It is, as always in these type of things, it is the poorest who don't have resource that end up getting hurt the most. We found 60% realise that they, subject to rule changes, they will make a move or they realise they will have to. But we found 93% of the participants in the survey, they felt that this Labor government would not protect their pensions, and a whopping 8 out of 10 actually felt that they're deliberately being punished.
You see, this is the problem, because for a long time, a lot of people have been encouraged to invest in their pension, not just for old age, but because it's a good tax-efficient investment route. And now that's all changing. So after years and years and years of people saying, put in your pension, it's now targeted.
Yeah, that's right. And again, people are trying to be self-responsible. They're not just sitting back and relying on the government to make good decisions in their interests all the time. And indeed, you could probably argue, particularly of late, that even more so the opposite is happening. But that's right. I mean, that's the unfairness of the whole thing. You try and build something up so you're not a burden on your family, society, and then they change the rules when you can no longer adapt to that. And it's all sorts of problematic and undermining of confidence, undermining of spending. It doesn't flow into what the growth sort of priority that this government speaks about. It's just wrong.
OK. Cameron, good to see you this morning. Thank you.
Cameron.
I mean, if you've got those pension blues, let us know. gbnews.com/yoursay. It is the idea that, as Cameron says, once it's there and it's invested, especially if you're drawing your annuities and all the rest of it, what do you do? What do you do? You're absolutely tied in. You're between a rock and a hard place. That's the problem.
Let us know what you think. gbnews.com/yoursay. Now, do stay with us. Still to come, the Conservatives are launching their local election campaign. We're going to be speaking to party chairman Nigel Huddleston in just a moment.
Crash Law 24 sponsors GB News Traffic and Travel Report.
The latest GB News Travel.
Good morning, I'm Russell Holding. There are delays of up to an hour and 20 minutes to Stena Line sailings between Ryan and Belfast this morning. In Staffordshire, the A453 is closed in both directions along Sutton Road to the southwest of Tamworth because of an accident causing queues. Now in London, Church Road in Leighton is closed for an investigation, and Cold Harbour Lane in Brixton is closed off the A23 Brixton Hill for an investigation. And in Devon, the A386 is blocked each way by an accident between Hatherley and Great Torrington, halfway between Oakhampton and Bideford.
You can stay up to date throughout the day by visiting our website, gbnews.com.
Crash Law 24 sponsors GB News Traffic and Travel Report.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation, isn't it?
No,
because the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes and Co weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
The royal family is an enduring symbol of tradition, unity and pride for Britain. At GB News, we celebrate what makes this country great. In our new Royal Newsletter series, you can join me, Cameron Walker, for Inside the Palace, an exclusive look every week that takes you beyond the gates and brings you the very latest from those at the heart of the monarchy. Never miss a royal moment again. Sign up now. Go to gbnews.com/royal newsletter and get the latest straight to your inbox.
Good Afternoon Britain isn't just about us. The wonderful thing about this programme is it's about everyone watching. It's an interactive programme.
Well, there absolutely is something to see here, and we're going to be talking about it more. Whether it's breaking royal news, please bring us up to date, or indeed a particularly punchy speech in the House of Commons.
Very, very curious.
We bring it to you live, and then we bring you live reaction as well.
That's Good Afternoon Britain, weekdays from midday.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
It's Patrick Christie's Tonight, and here We do things differently. It's explaining the absolute madness of this, doesn't it? It's explosive.
I mean,
this is very good. It's lively.
850. Your government sat there short and it did nothing.
It's controversial. And the Middle East has been in turmoil since before I was born. It's everything you need to kickstart your evening. Everyone's had their Weetabix tonight. I love to see it. That's Patrick Christie's Tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Now, if you didn't think there was enough going on in the world of politics, everything going on with defence, what the Prime Minister's doing today, in Barrow in terms of defence, submarines, all this extra spending and all the rest of it, plus the spring statement coming up in a week. I mean, it's all happening. On top of all of that, you get your chance to have your democratic say a little bit, in a lot of parts of the country anyway, in local elections on the 1st of May. And today, the Conservative Party is officially launching its campaign for all of that. So let's talk to Party Chairman Nigel Huddleston. Good morning to you. It's quite difficult, this, for the Conservatives, isn't it? Because you are so on the back foot in terms of the public's perception of you. They didn't trust you to run the government. Why are they going to trust the Conservative Party to run councils?
Well, because we have a really solid track record of delivering value for money in local government, where we deliver lower taxes and better services than other parties. Local government is really important. They deliver really important services that local people rely on. They make the communities better. And of course, you are right. We've had a bashing at last year's general election, and these elections are held in comparison to 2021, where we had a really high watermark. So there's no doubt these are going to be difficult for us, but we will be fighting for every vote in every seat up for election, because we can deliver better than others, and that will be a message we'll be getting across today.
We saw that press conference with Nigel Farage this week, didn't we? 29 councillors already defected to Reform UK. Do you have a strategy? Do you have a plan for potential mass defections to Reform UK at grassroots level?
Well, defections actually happen both ways, but when you look at the by-elections that have happened since the general election, we've won 59 seats. Reform have won 12. So when it comes to local elections, and this is really important as well, having good candidates who are embedded in their local communities, on the ground, focused on local issues and local concerns, we win. That is what we're good at. We've got teams of people out campaigning, and we deliver on those local issues and local matters. What I've seen some other parties do is try and run local elections based on national issues. They're important issues, but they're not always relevant to the delivery of local services and local mayors. And we're good at getting that message across. And I say, look, we had our difficulties. We are renewing the party now under the leadership of Kemi Badenoch. But when it comes to these local elections, we have a really good track record of delivering for local people, focusing on their priorities, having people who know their local communities, and that's how we win.
Well, how do you, but indeed this applies to all parties, get that message out in the sense that we're heading towards a society now where more and more issues are voted for on a national level. I mean, even MPs are, you know, quite frankly, voted in on the performance of their leader rather than on their performance as a member of Parliament. So, I mean, how does that apply to local elections if you want it to be fought on local issues and not national issues?
Well, I mean, to be honest, the primary focus is on the local issues, but there's always a local implementation of the national issues. So I think it's fair and reasonable to think about, you know, the tax level and what central government's doing. I mean, for example, one of the reasons why council taxes is going up is because of Rachel Reeves whacking up national insurance. That's added £1 billion to council taxes because that has to be paid by councils through commissioning of services. So there's always a link between the two. But when it comes to local delivery, it's things like, you know, adult and children's social care, it's bin collections, it's fly tipping, it's potholes, it's not necessarily, you know, some of the bigger national issues, and people don't like it. And believe me, I've been knocking on doors over the last few months working with the teams up and down the country. They don't like it when people come and knock on their door and don't focus on those local issues and those local concerns when it comes to their district council or county council or the mayoral elections. They want the people they elect there to be focused on the things that is the remit of that council. And and not be distracted by other things. And you see up and down the country all sorts of motions being put in on things that are nothing to do with the local council, and that really irritates people, and with good reason, because, you know, if they want to stand for Parliament in Westminster, then come and stand for Parliament in Westminster. What people want is good local councillors focused on the things they care about. And as I said, we've got a really good record of that. Some of our councillors have stood and served their communities for decades. Many of them will be standing again. We've got new councillors who are embedded in their communities. And I say that focus on spending money wisely, serving your local community and focusing on the things that matter locally is key to local people, and that will be the message we'll be getting across.
There's some predictions this morning that you could lose over half of those 973 council seats that you gained in 2021. Fears, of course, that this could destabilise the party. If the results are as bad as that, could Kemi Badenoch face a leadership challenge?
Well, no, because obviously Kemi has been leader for just a few months and people are getting to know her. And also in terms of the 2021 elections, when these seats were largely last held, the reality is it was a really high watermark for us. 11 years into government, we gained seats. It was the same day that we won off Labour the Hartlepool by-election. So it's a very high watermark. We actually won about 65% of all seats up for election back in 2021. That was unprecedented. That was about 30% higher than normal. So we do know that that is a very high watermark. Will be difficult to beat or indeed retain all of those councillors. But many people will know these councillors now who are standing again. They know that they're working hard for their local community, and I hope they'll get elected, and we'll be fighting for as many votes as possible in every seat up and down the country.
Is it going to be difficult in terms of differentiating between the Tories and Labour when it comes to some of the key issues at the moment, on a national level I'm talking? You know, we're in a very difficult financial situation. The spring statement, we understand, is going to be focused on spending cuts rather than tax rises. Well, surely that's something the Conservatives would support. It sounds like quite a Tory move on that. We've got more defence spending going on, and the Prime Minister highlighting that yesterday and later today. I mean, a lot of these issues do seem like they're straight out of the Conservative handbook.
Well, I mean, we welcome the fact that Labour are stealing some of our policies when it comes to tackling welfare spending and obviously increasing defence spending. But there is clear blue water between us and Labour. I mean, the reality is that because of the pandemic, we had to increase taxes. Labour increased taxes out of choice, not out of necessity. They believe in higher taxes, big government, big spending. You know, Margaret Thatcher used to say the problem with socialism is eventually they run out of other people's money. Well, this is exactly what Rachel Reeves has already done. She's already run out of money, and therefore she's coming back already just a few months into this new Labour government because she whacked up spending by £70 billion in last year's budget. You know, we wouldn't have done that. These are Labour choices, and we're now all living with the consequences. That spending was now causing huge issues in terms of higher taxes. They don't focus on productivity either. You know, so there is clear blue water in terms of principles and policies between us and Labour, and indeed all the other parties as well.
OK. Conservative Party Chairman Nigel Huddleston, thank you very much for your time.
Well, here on GB News, we will, of course, bring you full coverage of the local elections, including the launches of all the main political parties ahead of voting, as we said, on Thursday, the 1st of May.
Now at 7:40, let's have a quick look at the sports news with Paul Coit, who's here with us. Morning.
Morning. World Cup qualifiers that are happening because it's the international break. England are playing Albania. Did you know my favourite fact about Albania?
What's that?
That it was illegal to have a beard in Albania. You know that, don't you?
Oh, I didn't know that.
Back in the 70s and before then, it was illegal to, if you're a man, well, if you're a man, I think probably if you're a woman, you're allowed to have one. But if it was illegal to have a beard in Albania, and if you travelled to Albania and you went there with a beard, you would have to shave off the beard before you were allowed into the country. That's a true fact.
I didn't know that.
It's a true fact. And 4 centimetres was the length. You couldn't have your hair any longer than 4 centimetres. or
very
he'll
odd.
also be out. Things have changed in Albania, you'd be glad to know there.
Good.
Little collapse there, but England play Albania tonight with however long hair they want. Wales, that's tomorrow night. Wales play Kazakhstan on Saturday. Craig Bellamy, the manager there, who I met recently, by the way, and I was very impressed with. Very much liked him. Going to make a very good Wales manager.
He's
very
that's
impressed
nice.
by Craig Bellamy.
He'll be relieved about that.
Well, don't be so sarcastic with me, Steve. And Greece plays Scotland tonight. That's that's a playoff in the Nations League. So that's a two-leg job, and it's in Greece tonight.
Right.
Oh, nice.
Can we have a look, because we've teased it and I haven't talked about it, this Scotty Schaefer's Masters Club dinner?
Yes. Every year at the Masters...
Masters, sorry.
Yes.
Northerners was coming out.
So every year at the Masters, what we have is the dinner. So anyway, they have a champions dinner. So whoever wins the Masters the year before gets to choose the dinner. All the champions that wear the green jackets are all invited along. And then you get the champion, who's Scotty Scheffler, gets to choose what the menu is. So there is the menu, which has just been released. It's not until April. So Scotty Scheffler has chosen cheeseburger sliders, followed by firecracker shrimp.
Is he American?
Hey, you get the... How about if I say Papa Chef's meatball and ravioli bites?
I think he is.
He is. First course is Texas-style chili.
There you go.
And then wood-fried cowboy ribeye or blackened red fish. Dessert, warm chocolate chip skillet cookie.
Okay, so I wasn't mad about any of that until we got to the cookie.
I know, with
dessert
vanilla bean ice cream.
So dessert is a cookie.
Yes.
With ice cream.
Sliders, which are like little burgers.
Yep.
Mini
are the
burgers.
starter. I mean, it's like going to McDonald's or something.
Well, it's funny you should say that, because Tiger Woods, when he won the title, first time he won the title, he chose a McDonald's selection back in 1998.
Oh, that's so cool.
So you're not far off. Danny Willett, by the way, who's English, of course, back in 2016 when he won it, the year 2017, he chose mini cottage pie starters and a proper roast dinner with Yorkshire pudding. Can you imagine the Americans going, what is this? Sandy Lyle, back in 89, chose haggis. For obvious reasons. And Scotty Scheffler, who's won it before, had cheeseburger sliders with mac and cheese. Not quite the gourmet, is he?
No, not the gourmet.
Not quite the gourmet.
He knows what he likes.
We need someone posh and English doing it, and they can have swan or something.
Swan?
Something like that.
When have you eaten swan?
Well, I haven't eaten swan, but
I don't think you can eat swan.
They used to eat swan, didn't they?
What, the neck? So it was like a look. No.
It was swan stuffed with goose, stuffed with duck, stuffed with all that. It was all one that they used to do all that.
That's like the song about eating the fly, though, isn't it? And then they get the whole,
That's what they used to do, get permission from the king.
Yeah. Oh, no, I don't fancy the goose, thank you.
I should start saying Masters, because Barrow-in-Furness is going to be, announcing today, the king is going to allow it to be called Royal Barrow-in-Furness.
Wow.
Because of all its contributions made over...
Do you apply for that, or is it just given, do you think?
I think it's been given
I think it is bestowed upon you.
So I don't know when it actually happens, but it will become Royal Barrow-in-Furness, which is... I'm going to have to change all my labels.
So what is the tournament that's happening in Augusta in April? It's the...
Royal...
No, the Masters.
Sorry, the Masters.
The Masters.
The Masters, yeah. So if you watch it in Barrow this morning, get your plum voices on. You're going to be royal.
You're going to be
ladies
royal.
and gentlemen.
Thanks, Coity.
Masters.
Now, just before we go through the papers, let's have a look at the forecast for some of the top European holiday destinations.
Rah.
Can't wait to get in that sea.
Lovely and warm.
Just like the feeling of having great travel insurance.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
For the time being, at least, the UK is warmer than Greece, where cold winds continue to blow. Warm sunshine in Italy, but very unsettled once again for Portugal into Spain. Spells of rain, strong winds, 60-mile-per-hour wind gusts in places, and an awful lot of rain as low pressure continues to dominate. That rain spreading into the south of France as well, largely avoiding Italy, where it's going to stay warm and sunny, but this cold wind continues to blow through Greece, although temperatures will recover over the next few days.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
If you want your news to be straight talking,
This is a nightmare for the Conservatives again.
down to earth,
It's not just Nottingham where this is happening, is it?
and most importantly, honest,
Hard-working, middle-class taxpayers, they'll get the book thrown at them.
then catch me, Martin Daubney, Monday to Friday, 3 till 6 p.m. on GB News, Britain's news channel.
I'm Michael Portillo. This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
Good afternoon, Britain. Weekdays from midday.
SpaceX latest Starship exploded over the Caribbean Sea.
I was wondering where it'd gone.
Yeah, debris could be seen falling back to Earth moments after the Starship launched down from Boca Chica, Texas. The rocket, of course, was unmanned. This was the 8th test flight, and it was only meant to be in the air for an hour. But, importantly, the booster for this rocket was caught with those Mechazilla chopsticks in an impressive display, the third time that's happened.
Those Mechazilla chopsticks. This is Elon Musk's spaceship, isn't it?
Tell.
Starship, sorry.
Yeah.
Planetary scientist Andy Lound could tell us more about this. Andy, so was this a disaster or is this just a little obstacle to success?
Yeah, good morning. Par for the course, really. This is what kind of, good afternoon, par for the course as these things go on. The whole point of the tests, he's going to do 25 tests this year alone. And the interesting thing about this is you actually see the staging of it, where you've got the first stage, the booster, and then the second section, which is the ginormous rocket, which actually lifts off. The first stage, they seem to have got that cinched now, how it works quite well, coming back and landing in the chopsticks, absolutely breathtaking. The second stage, the Starship, was actually the new version of it, which they're testing out completely. And unfortunately, the first testing, the last test failed, and that was due to, it looks like, some frequency issues, which caused a frequency to go too high, which caused damage to the piping, which led to a fuel leak and a fire, which led to destruction. They made a lot of modifications, which led to test 8. And unfortunately, though, it has failed again. So they need to have a look exactly what the issues are which are causing these failures.
GB News, the People's Channel.
I'm Christopher Hope. From pop star to politicians, I'll interview anybody in a pub who's got a political opinion. Join me every Friday on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube or gbnews.com, or wherever you get your podcasts.
This is GB News, the People's Channel.
We're proud to be GB News, the People's Channel. And as you know, we always love to hear your views. Now, there's a new way of getting in touch with us at gbnews.com/yoursay. By commenting, you can be part of a live conversation and join our GB News community. You can even talk to me, Bev Turner, or any of the members of the GB News family.
Morning. Alex, toxic masculinity.
Yes. Well, we're talking about this a lot, aren't we, thanks to that Netflix drama Adolescence, which was talked about in the House of Commons by Keir Starmer, the Prime Minister, yesterday.
He's watched it with his kids, hasn't he?
Supposedly so. So, of course, Southgate has come out and said we need to show spend some more time talking about young boys and the status of them in this country. And Scott and I have been talking about this quite a lot, actually, haven't we, in the green room? And you know what? There's so much that needs to be done to talk about the young white boys in this country. They are the most disadvantaged group of young people who have been forgotten about, particularly over the last 15 years, and the Tory government completely not acknowledged them once. There's very little done to support them in the workplace, coming into work. They're the lowest paid. They're the most likely to commit suicide compared to men at the age 45. I mean, I could list off facts all day long. And it's no surprise that they turn to these strong men online who spout out one-liners that sound great in principle but actually horrendous, because we've just completely neglected them. This country has left behind so many disadvantaged white, underprivileged boys.
Because we're talking about poor white boys, and if you look at what we call the NEETs, which is the not in education, employment or training, I mean a great number of them are young men. And actually, if you ruin and they do really badly at school and they're missing school, and this particular cohort, if we think about it, they were the people who had to stay at home during COVID, right? And obviously, I'm generalising massively, but if you look at a bell curve, the girls are more likely to have stayed on their computers and done the work than the boys. And And if you leave school without any qualifications, nobody wants to know. And we've got to do. And what's so good is Gareth Southgate, who used to be, manager of the England football team, who is a complete hero of mine, actually. Spoke out about it in the Dimbleby lecture and said we've got to do something about it. I mean, unfortunately, then of course, there's a review that says it's all schools' fault and, they're not boy positive enough. But actually, we've got to think about how to do it positively.
It's across the board, because, I mean, you've got the, families without a father figure.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, you can't force people to stay together. Of course you can't. However, that's an important factor. And if they don't have a role model, what sort of role models are they going to be for their children? It's not just this generation that you've got to look at. It's the next
break
as
the
well.
cycle,
Yeah.
Quite right.
It is worrying. Right, can we have a look, Scarlett, at French citizens who are getting survival manuals?
I think, yes. I mean, obviously, this is a very serious story that we can't take seriously for a second.
No.
Is that French, they're going to be given a 20-page survival manual in case they're invaded or there's a sort of, a natural thing like a hurricane or an earthquake or something. And I mean, nobody is going to read a 20-page manual. And I remember when I was young and we were all worried about nuclear war, and there were these manuals that none of us saw, and you were supposed to, hide under a table, which wasn't going to do any good at all. And one feels, all you're doing is making people frightened.
Yeah, it seems very, very odd.
It's very French, though, isn't it? It's very French to have a guidebook on something. It's very typical socialist France, Have a guidebook about this. You must have windows. This is silly nonsense, isn't it? It's just scaremongering.
Thank heavens it isn't happening over here, though, because what's it costing?
Yeah, I was just thinking about it. You took the words out of my mouth.
Yeah,
mental.
Alex, let's have a look. We've got 50 seconds just for us to tell us about Matt Hancock.
Can this man just go away?
I was about to say he's back, isn't he?
I don't know how he keeps coming back. He's on the front page of the Mirror today. He's saying he'd do it all over again, which is absolutely madness to say that, considering what he did. I mean, his affair and everything else. I just wish this man would disappear. I don't think anyone can surely stand the sight of Matt Hancock again.
He was at the COVID inquiry, which is why we're saying that he was absolutely right to do the VIP lane. How many millions were wasted?
That was for procurement.
For procurement, including a friend of his who ran a pub.
Yeah.
And he said, I mean, of course they shouldn't have been making PPI, let alone Baroness Michelle Mone.
Well,
and bearing in mind, a lot of that money spent has caused the crisis we're in today economically.
Yeah.
All right.
Precisely.
Thanks both.
Let's have a look at the weather now with Alex Deacon.
Heavy showers first thing will be followed by a warm, cosy day. Boxed Boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Hello, a very good morning to you. Welcome to the latest update from the Met Office for GB News. A sunny day for many of us once again, but with an increased breeze. However, that breeze is coming up from the south, so it's likely to be the warmest day of the year so far. Well, we start off with a widespread frost across northern parts of the UK, but it will soon warm up with plenty of sunny skies. And for the vast majority, it stays dry and bright throughout the day. However, some places will see a bit more cloud compared with recent days. Certainly some cloud building up through Wales, the Midlands and East Anglia into the afternoon. Where we do get those long spells of sunshine, though, temperatures are likely to reach widely mid to high teens and in some spots 20 or 21 Celsius, making it the warmest day of the year so far. And we keep those clear spells going into the evening. There'll be some hazy high cloud about for Scotland at this stage, but otherwise plenty of fine weather, temperatures still in the double figures at 5 p.m. Northern Ireland likewise a bit more cloud in the sky compared with recent evenings, but even here actually plenty of dry and fine weather. Always the chance of a shower across the Midlands, northern parts of England, but you'd be unlucky to be caught in one of these. For the vast majority, it is going to be dry and warm as we end the day, 16 or 17 degrees even at 6 or 7 p.m. But a change is on the way, and the first signs of that will be across Cornwall overnight. The breeze picks up and some heavy showers arrive by midnight, increasingly wet by dawn. Perhaps even some flashes of lightning out to the sea areas. But otherwise, with an increased breeze for many places, it's going to be a largely frost-free start to Friday. There's also going to be a generally cloudier start to the day, particularly across western and southern parts of the country. Still some bright spells in the east, and even in the west it will be bright from time to time and mostly dry, but increasingly there will be these spells of rain or showers moving up from Cornwall into Devon, South Wales and perhaps Northern Ireland. With the breeze, it's going to feel cooler, but temperatures will still reach 19 Celsius.
A positive outlook through the night will power through to a bright day ahead. Boxed Home Battery Storage, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Crash Law 24 sponsors GB News Traffic and Travel Report.
The latest GB News travel.
Good morning, I'm Russell Holding. There are delays of up to an hour and 20 minutes to Stena Line sailings between Carolina and Belfast. The M1 in West Yorkshire is partly blocked northbound by an accident between junctions 39 and 40 near Wakefield. It's slow towards and past there. In Staffordshire, the A453 is closed in both directions, southwest of Tamworth after an accident causing delays. In London, Church Road in Leighton is closed for an investigation. The A315 Kensington Road is closed near to the Royal Albert Hall for an investigation. And Cold Harbour Lane in Brixton is closed for an investigation too. And Gatwick Express train services are suspended between Gatwick Airport and Brighton after a train broke down.
You can stay up to date throughout the day by visiting our website gbnews.com.
Crash Law 24 sponsors GB News Traffic and Travel Report.
You could be the next big winner of the Great British Giveaway, as we have an incredible £17,777 in tax-free cash to be won. Cash that you'll be able to spend on anything you like. And if that wasn't enough, we'll also give you the latest Mulberry handbag, and not one, but two sought-after designer watches, so you can style it out this spring. For another chance to win the lot, text cash to 63232. One entry costs £2 plus one standard network rate message, or text bonus to 63232. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start from just £2. Call 0903 681 3232. Calls cost £2 plus your network access charge, or post your name and number to GB12 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrants must be 18 or over. Lines close at 6 p.m. on the 4th of April. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand.
This is Britain's Newsroom, where your voice matters.
It's just astonishing. With expert analysis and honest opinion, we don't just keep you informed.
We bring you unique perspectives you won't see anywhere else.
Can't argue with any of that. When the news happens, it happens here.
On Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 a.m.
Only on GB News.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK,
we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
If you want your news to be straight talking...
This is a nightmare for the Conservatives again.
Down to earth.
It's not just Nottingham where this is happening, is it?
And most importantly, honest.
Hard-working, middle-class taxpayers, they'll get their book thrown at them.
Then catch me, Martin Daubney, Monday to Friday, 3 till 6 p.m. on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Good morning. Bolstering British defences in a time of tension.
Barrow and Furness to become a blueprint for defence spending to boost communities across the country.
Well, that's after the Prime Minister joined a Vanguard submarine crew to thank them for their silent service.
Yes, British jobs for British workers. That's the positive framing the Prime Minister is putting on the fact that we have to spend a lot more on defence. I'll bring you more details shortly.
Does a government loophole mean criminals can evade justice by changing gender? Well, a new report urges the NHS and police to stop prioritising gender over sex.
Presidents Trump and Zelensky have patched up their differences in a phone call. The White House promising a peace deal for Ukraine is on track, but does the Kremlin agree?
A royal boost for our armed forces as the Prince of Wales makes his first visit to Estonia to show support for the troops fending off Russian aggression.
Headaches, vomiting and nosebleeds. Is a landfill site in Fleetwood to blame? We'll be talking to the locals.
Stop the Stink. Thousands of residents here in Fleetwood are backing a campaign to close this landfill site that they say is making them sick. We'll be here all day hearing from the people.
Country for the 8th year in a row. But where does the UK rank?
Happy.
Oh, good.
In the sport, Sebastian Coe could become, well, very happy and one of the most powerful men in sport later today as the next president of the IOC.
He's my favourite.
We will see. We will see. There's no guarantees in that. There's also the guarantees in life are death, taxes, and Emma Raducanu firing a coach. And she has again. And we'll be talking about one of the world's biggest sports that maybe you're not familiar with.
A chilly start out there for many of us, but it's likely to be the warmest day of the year so far by the afternoon. How high will the temperatures get? I'll have the full details in the forecast coming up soon.
It's just gone 8 o'clock. I'm Stephen Dixon.
I'm Ellie Costello, and this is GB News Breakfast.
Paul Coyte's poised with some fascinating information.
Always have fascinating information. Are you familiar with kabaddi?
No.
Well, we will find out more. It's
a huge sport, is it?
It's a huge sport in Asia. The second biggest sport in India. And there's other countries that it is the national sport. And various countries play it. They play it here, but the World Championships is in the West Midlands.
So why have we not heard of it?
Well, we're going to find out. So we will speak and find out about the World Championships and also about how the game works, because there's a lot of people that have never heard of it, although around the world it's much bigger than you may think.
Oh, interesting.
Coyte and Stephen, I'd like your thoughts on this, because Stephen, I know you have a cat.
Yes,
Coyte,
I do.
you have dogs. I know you actually now have a dog as well.
Yeah.
But this is in the Daily Mail this morning. Cats are the perfect therapy animals.
Oh, yes.
You think that they're dogs, but actually
no.
they're saying it's cats that make the perfect therapy animal.
Yes.
Because they purr, they have gentle headbutts and have a naturally very calm nature to help relieve stress and combat loneliness. Whereas dogs can be a bit excitable.
No, this is nonsense.
No, it's absolutely true.
I disagree.
Absolutely
Bit excitable and high sociability, so they might not focus on you so
You can't trust a cat. See, you can't. As a dog, you know where you stand with a dog come over with a cat. The amount of cats, I'm thinking, oh, that's a nice cat, like that, and I'm like, whoa.
Yeah, because it's
that's not calming. That puts you on the edge.
No, when your cat loves you and they're on your knee and they're purring and they're so affectionate. They're more affectionate than dogs.
But that's Stephen. That's not true.
No, they are.
I feel like if you get the right breed of cat and then they really love you, but it's very rare.
It's not rare.
They turn, though, like that, don't they?
Oh, they're independent. They're so intelligent. Cats are so intelligent.
Because they know what it's all about them. The dog, I always find, is always about or they'll do whatever they want. Cats, I feel, is always about the cat.
Yeah.
I don't trust cats.
Do you remember when I had that cat?
Paul, I'm disappointed.
I'm sorry.
For a few weeks.
Hmm?
Do you remember when I had that
your
cat
neighbour's cat that you stole?
Oh, yeah.
I don't think we never actually worked out where she was from, but she was always in the rain outside our flat, and one day the foxes came and it looked like they were attacking her, so then we rescued her.
All right, good.
And then she became my baby and I was feeding her all the time, and at Christmas I got her a stocking.
So what happened to her? Because you spoke about her for ages, and then
she went back home and that was that.
She just disappeared.
You
know why? It's because cat thinking of herself. That was it. I'll work this one, and then I'll go and get it from someone else. The dog would stay with you.
I can't believe you can say that about cats.
I do. I feel very strongly.
They're fantastic animals. I'm definitely a cat man.
Fish.
I love cats.
You can't argue with those.
Fish can't argue.
They love you, the fish.
They're great to look at.
Unconditional fish love.
Well, let us know if you've got a cat at home. Do you think they make a good therapy animal?
Oh,
Stephen obviously thinks so.
Totally.
Because the dog, you stroke the dog, it's so calming, and honestly, I'm going to go on about this forever. I apologise, but yeah, dogs, it's all about
Let
the
us
dog.
know what you think. gbnews.com/yours say.
Now, amid rising tensions in Ukraine and the Middle East, the Prime Minister is going to bolster British defences, but he's doing so with a community focus.
Yes, as part of the plan, towns across the country will see millions of pounds invested in local jobs to help build up Britain's arsenal.
Well, the Prime Minister yesterday joined submariners on board HMS Vanguard to thank them for their service.
Well, earlier we spoke with Conservative Party Chairman Nigel Huddleston.
We welcome the fact that Labour are stealing some of our policies when it comes to tackling welfare spending and obviously increasing defence spending. But there is clear blue water between us and Labour.
Let's talk to our political correspondent, Catherine Forster, who's in Westminster for us today. It's sort of difficult to argue against this because we've been talking about the need for defence spending, and this is talking about putting actually quite a lot of money into those areas that are building our defences.
Yes, good morning both. Firstly, I was just struck by that comment that Nigel Huddlestone made about clear blue water between Labour and the Conservatives on defence, because I was on a visit to Warsaw last April, May, I think it was, with the previous Prime Minister Rishi Sunak, where the Conservatives made huge fanfare about announcing an increase in defence spending to 2.5% by 2030. Labour in the last couple of weeks have made that announcement to happen in the next couple of years. A measure, I suppose, of how the world has simply changed, and very fundamentally. So, yes, we're going to have to spend a lot more on defence, up to 3% in the next Parliament. I suspect it might have to go even further than that. Of course, that's difficult in terms of we're going to have less to spend on other things. But the Prime Minister is very keen to stress that this is an opportunity for Britain in terms of bringing British jobs for British workers, a phrase we used to hear under Gordon Brown, and a way to drive growth, that elusive #1 mission of the government. So we saw the PM and the Defence Secretary on that secret visit yesterday up to Scotland. Today, there will be this symbolic sort of beginning of a nuclear ballistic missile submarine being built up at Barrow in Furness. And the government's message that they're trying to give us is, look, we can use this need to spend more on defence to our advantage, bring British jobs here. I was 2 weeks exactly, I think, up in Liverpool with the Prime Minister at a shipyard there. Again, the same message. I think we're going to hear a lot more of that. Worth saying that after that visit, the Prime Minister will then be coming back down south because there is a meeting of military leaders from across Europe talking about how operationally they could help in any sort of peacekeeping plan for Ukraine, although it looks, I have to say, like we're some way away from that, not least because we don't even have a ceasefire yet. And also Putin has said over and over again that he won't accept troops like that in Ukraine.
I imagine this is a huge blow for Keir Starmer, this EU arms fund that Britain has been frozen out of. How is that going to impact us? Because he's wanted to be the front runner, hasn't he? The strong man in Europe, it would seem, but he's been frozen out of this deal.
Yes, it's really bad news, this, and the government are hoping that they can get a change of heart from the European Union on this. We know that Europe has suddenly woken up, is going to increase defence spending massively because of the threat from Russia and because we don't know exactly what support we may or may not get from the States. And obviously, given that President Macron of France and Sir Keir Starmer have led Europe's response over the last few weeks, gathered these summits and really driven this forward, you might have thought that France particularly would have thought, let's just focus on what unites us and not worry about whether Britain is in the EU or not. But it seems that that is not the case, and it sounds like this is particularly being driven by France and fishing rights, because that's something they want us to budge on, something that we do not want to budge on. And so this is sort of being dangled. So let's see what happens. But obviously, huge opportunities for our defence firms to get involved in that, and really bad news if the EU don't budge on it.
OK. Catherine, thank you very much indeed. It's fascinating to see how the breakdown of what could happen in Barrow, because obviously, as well as the building the new Dreadnought class submarines, there, £28 million funding package for T-levels delivered by providers including Furness College, A Barrow Transformation Fund, £200 million government package to strengthen the local economy, boost opportunities for the people of Barrow, £5 million for grants to community and voluntary organisations to allow local people to improve their local area. Well, if that happens, excuse me, that's got to be a good thing. Barrow is on its knees. It's absolutely on its knees. But is that going to turn Barrow around? If you're from that neck of the woods, let us know. gbnews.com/yoursay. But it is getting the title of Royal Barrow, in fairness.
Sounds good.
Which is good. But, I mean, it's indicative of the problems that a lot of places, and particularly up north, the problems they're facing, where there's a lack of investment, and sometimes big employers coming in, and the shipyard's a prime example, actually, where they're trying to get people don't want to go to Barrow, so they're upping the wages to get people to go and work there. But that means that small businesses in the area can't compete with the shipyards. So small businesses are suffering because the shipyards got inflated wages. Well, so I don't know how you balance that out.
No, it is a difficult balance. But I am glad that Barrow in fairness is having the spotlight shone on it. Because for decades it has been, well, the front runner, really, in terms of our defence and our security and all the work that goes on there. So it's right that it's getting the investment that it deserves after all this time. And the Prime Minister visiting HMS Vanguard. Rightly so.
We might even get a Marks and Spencer's back.
That would be nice, wouldn't it?
All the big shops have shot up in Barrow now. They've all gone.
Well, hopefully they now come back.
Fingers crossed. It'd be very nice. Now, at 12 minutes past 8, Stop the Stink. It's a campaign headed up by locals in Fleetwood over a landfill site they say is actually making them sick.
That's right, yes. Residents say it smells like rotten egg. It's so bad it induces headaches, vomiting and nosebleeds.
So they want it all shut down. Let's talk to our North West of England reporter, Sophie Reaper, who's in Fleetwood. You're there, Sophie. How bad does it smell?
Yeah, how's the smell?
Well, good morning to you both. I have to say, in the last couple of minutes alone, you could smell it before this morning, but in the last few minutes, the wind must have turned, and honestly, I'm stood here gagging. My cameraman has got a snood pulled over his nose. I've got a peg ready to go. I had this as a joke, but I am genuinely considering putting this on my nose now. It smells so bad. I cannot even imagine. Just in the distance, there is a housing estate where people live their lives on a day-to-day basis, and having this on their doorstep must really be so trying. So this is something that the local residents in their thousands are getting behind, this Stop the Stink campaign, to try and get this landfill site shut down. So joining me now to talk about that is one of the leaders of the campaign, Alison Rowe. Alison, good morning to you. Talk to us about the smell and talk to us about how I know you've been medically impacted by it. Talk to us about that.
Right, for the last year and a bit, since Transwaste, in my opinion, have been running this site, they're not running it correctly. We, the people of Fleetwood and surrounding areas, are being poisoned on a daily basis from the hydrogen sulfide and other particulates that are coming off this site. It's just disgusting. We're being made ill. We can't have our windows and doors open. We can't live our lives as we're supposed to live them freely, be able to go out of your door and not be physically made to be sick. That's happened to me on numerous occasions. You smell the stench and the poison and you have instant headaches. It is not right. We, the people, want this bloody place closed, and I'm sorry for swearing, but we need this place closed. Borough Council, you have a responsibility to your residents. You've not been in touch with us. You've not conversed with us about what's happening. You are the landlords of this site. You're being paid £200,000 a year rent from Mr Hornshaw and his family, Transwaste, while we the people pay our council tax, and we are paying to be poisoned. It needs closing. The authority must listen to we the people of Fleetwood and surrounding areas. We're fed up with it. We're annoyed. We need something done. It needs closing. Nothing better will be done than to close this site down and let the people of Fleetwood and surrounding areas live their lives freely without being poisoned.
I just have to respond to that. Borough Council, I've spoken to them and they've told me that they've actually worked with the local MP to ask the Environment Agency to close it down and that they don't have the power to close it down themselves. How would you respond to that?
If they're the landlords, in my understanding, a landlord can take back someone's lease. So I don't get that. They can talk to Lorraine Beavers, and she has helped us a lot. But while Borough Council, you've not been in touch with your residents. You haven't. You've been silent.
Alison, thank you very much for joining us this morning. They are very, very strong words, and that is something that's been shared. I've been inundated with messages from local residents who've told me that something has to give, something has to change, because their lives are being ruined, they say, by the landfill site here behind me in Fleetwood.
OK, Sophie, thanks very much indeed. I mean, that lady getting irate, but you can understand it if you've got that. I mean, you can imagine what a disgusting smell. And if it's just around your house each and every day, it would drive you crackers.
And you can't open the door and you can't open the windows. Imagine. And when the weather's getting nicer as well, it'll be an absolute nightmare.
Yeah, we've got some comments from Trans Waste, which you can see on your screen there. I mean, they say the problems have now been resolved. But that lady clearly doesn't think they have been.
Yeah, and Sophie Reaper's saying that the smell is still
horrific.
Pretty fragrant in the air.
I mean, it's one of those things that you could put up with it for a while, and then it becomes an irritation, and then it just will drive you utterly mad, won't it, after a prolonged period of time. Clearly very, very angry, and so we can understand it.
They say they're working to completely seal it. They're installing gas wells to maximise gas extraction from the cell, and that will resolve the odour issues.
Well, they better crack on
we
with
can
it.
only hope.
Right, it's 17 minutes past 8. These are the other stories in the newsroom this morning.
A teenager has been jailed for life with a minimum term of 49 years for murdering his family. 19-year-old Nicholas Prosper from Luton pleaded guilty to the murder of his mother, Juliana, and his teenage siblings, Kyle and Giselle. Court hearings revealed he was also planning a mass shooting at his old primary school before being arrested.
A 40-year-old man has died following a collision in Birmingham involving a police car and a pedestrian. Now, according to Birmingham police, it happened just before 7 o'clock last night. The man was pronounced dead at the scene.
The RSPCA are calling for cat cafes across the country to be phased out over concerns about the animals' welfare. It follows a surge in the opening of such cafes where customers can interact or even adopt the cats.
I don't know what to think about cat cafes. I've only ever been to one, and it was very nice.
Really? So my gut instinct is that it wouldn't be fair on the cat. Like everyone just sitting around drinking tea and coffee and wanting to hold them. Can't imagine they'd love that.
Well, you can't just... well, it's up to them whether they come up to you.
Oh, so you don't
go over and pick a cat up and force it on your knee.
I've never stepped foot inside a cat cafe, so I couldn't tell you what happens. But
yeah, you just sit down, have your tea and scone or whatever, and the cats are just wandering about.
Oh.
And if one decides to sit on your lap, then it's up to them.
Then that's not okay. Yeah, that sounds all right then.
So, but the thing is, I do have a lot of respect for the RSPCA, and they tend to, they do have the welfare of the animals at the heart of what they do. So if they're concerned, maybe there are concerns, and it won't be about every cat cafe, but if they think there's enough for it to be a problem. I don't know, it's an interesting one. Should you be a cat cafe owner? I'd love to hear from you this morning.
Yeah.
gbnews.com/your say.
Loads of you talking about cats and dogs. What are you going on that? Because there was a story in one of the papers this morning, wasn't it? Saying that cats make wonderful therapy animals because they're very calm-natured and they purr, which apparently is very comforting.
Oh, I love a purr.
Yeah, it's a lovely sound, isn't it?
Can I just say about that, the lady we've just had on from Fleetwood? It's interesting, someone's been in touch saying, the lady with Sophie Reaper, great message, great passion, but you don't have to shout. And then Brenda's responded to that on yours, so saying, yes, she does. Being calm and collected doesn't work anymore. And there's an element of truth to that, I'm afraid to say. When people feel that they've lodged the complaints with local authorities and all the rest of it, and no one seems to be listening, and you're living with that, you are going to lose your rag, aren't you?
Yeah.
I can understand that. I can
How
understand
it gets to that point, yeah.
Where she's just reached the end of her tether, frankly.
But GB News is shining a light on it, and Sophie Reaper is there today Do keep your views coming in, gbnews.com/your say. Now at 8:20, let's get a check on the weather, shall we, with Aidan McGibbon.
Expect a warm front, moving from the kitchen right through to the rest of the house. Boxed Boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Hello, a very good morning to you. Welcome to the latest update from the Met Office for GB News. A sunny day for many of us once again, but with an increased breeze. However, that breeze is coming up from the south, so it's likely to be the warmest day of the year so far. Well, we start off with a widespread frost across northern parts of the UK, but it will soon warm up with plenty of sunny skies. And for the vast majority, it stays dry and bright throughout the day. However, some places will see a bit more cloud compared with recent days. Certainly some cloud building up through Wales, the Midlands and East Anglia into the afternoon. Where we do get those long spells of sunshine, though, temperatures are likely to reach widely mid to high teens and in some spots 20 or 21 Celsius, making it the warmest day of the year so far. And we keep those clear spells going into the evening. There'll be some hazy high cloud about for Scotland at this stage, but otherwise plenty of fine weather, temperatures still in the double figures at 5 p.m. Northern Ireland likewise a bit more cloud in the sky compared with recent evenings, but even here actually plenty of dry and fine weather. Always the chance of a shower across the Midlands, northern parts of England, but you'd be unlucky to be caught in one of these. For the vast majority, it is going to be dry and warm as we end the day, 16 or 17 degrees even at 6 or 7 p.m. But a change is on the way, and the first signs of that will be across Cornwall overnight. The breeze picks up and some heavy showers arrive by midnight, increasingly wet by dawn. Perhaps even some flashes of lightning out to the sea areas. But otherwise, with an increased breeze for many places, it's going to be a largely frost-free start to Friday. But it's also going to be a generally cloudier start to the day, particularly across western and southern parts of the country. Still some bright spells in the east, and even in the west it will be bright from time to time and mostly dry. But increasingly there will be these spells of rain or showers moving up from Cornwall into Devon, South Wales and perhaps Northern Ireland. With the breeze, it's going to feel cooler, but temperatures will still reach 19 Celsius.
A positive outlook through the night will power through to a bright day ahead. Boxed Home Battery Storage, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Now, have you taken part in our spring giveaway yet? If not, why not? Because you could win a fabulous designer handbag, 2 highly sought-after designer watches and quite a lot of cash.
Yes, £17,777 to be precise, all tax-free as well. So it's an amazing prize package and it could all be yours. Here are the details that you need.
Spring has sprung with a great British giveaway, and we're giving you the chance to splash out this season with an incredible £17,777 in tax-free cash. Jet off on your dream holiday, treat yourself to something special, or just save it for a rainy day. You'll also receive 2 brand new designer watches and a Mulberry handbag, so you can really look the part this spring. For another chance to win the lot, text cash to 63232. One entry costs £2 plus 1 standard network rate message, or text bonus to 63232. 5 entries cost £5 plus 1 standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start from just £2. Call 0903 681 3232. Calls cost £2 plus your network access charge, or post your name and number to GB12 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrants must be 18 or over. Lines close at 6 p.m. on the 4th of April. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Still to come for you, one Labour MP has admitted he couldn't survive below the poverty line. So we're debating whether politicians should really experience some of that. Next.
Headliners on GB News 11 p.m. every night. It's got 3 top comedians going through the next day's newspapers so you don't have to read them, which is great.
That's a good point. He's lying. I mean, maybe he's not lying.
That's Headliners every night from 11 p.m. and 5 a.m. as well on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Martin Daubney, weekdays from 3 p.m.
Trans police officers will be allowed to strip search women despite ongoing backlash from critics. New guidance for the National Police Chiefs Council says that biologically male staff who identify as women should be allowed to intimately search women as long as they possess a gender recognition certificate. Now, what could possibly go wrong? But some women's rights groups claim that the police had forgotten about women in their pursuit of gender ideology. Well, I'm delighted to say I'm now joined by the Surrey Police and Crime Commissioner, Lisa Townsend. Lisa, a delight to have you on the show. Thank you very, very much for joining us. A lot of people have very, very legitimate concerns that if you're a woman, you're in a vulnerable position, you're being searched intimately, it should be another woman who is searching you. And a trans woman, in a lot of people's eyes, isn't a woman. They're a biological man who says they're a woman. What's your take on this?
I'm afraid that this is just the latest in a long line of announcements like this from the NCC about the ability for trans police officers to search women, males essentially, to search women. We wouldn't think it was okay anywhere else, and it's not okay in policing. I think there's also another way of looking at this, which is it's not just male officers, and they are born male. We are talking about males being able to search women. It's also the other way round. It's also female officers potentially being told that they have to search a trans woman, i.e. a male who has been brought into custody. That male could have been brought into custody because he himself has been violent, and he is insisting that he is a woman and therefore, you know, there's no time to check the gender recognition certificate, but that's how he identifies, and he insists on a female officer searching him. So I think we have to look at this on both sides, and either way it can't be right.
GB News, the People's Channel.
I'm Christopher Hope. From pop stars to politicians, I'll interview anybody in a pub who's got a political opinion. Join me every Friday on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube or gbnews.com, or wherever you get your podcasts. This is GB News, the People's Channel.
We're proud to be GB News, the People's Channel. And as you know, we always love to hear your views. Now, there's a new way of getting in touch with us at gbnews.com/your say. By commenting, you can be part of a live conversation and join our GB News community. You can even talk to me, Bev Turner, or any of the members of the GB News family.
It's 8:28 now. A Labour minister has admitted, well, not surprisingly, he couldn't survive on £70 a week.
Well, he made the comments whilst defending the Work Secretary's cuts to disability benefits.
It's renewed calls for all politicians to experience living on a budget before representing constituents who have to live on the breadline.
So, is that something that we should expect from our politicians? Well, joining us now is CEO of the homeless charity Barnabas, Yvonne Hope, and political commentator Andy Preston. Morning, both of you. Andy, let's start with you. Should we expect our politicians to live below the breadline?
Hi, morning, everyone. No, I don't think we should expect that. I do think that we should demand that politicians are knowledgeable of all issues, of the challenges that their constituents face. And I do think they should have loads of empathy and wisdom and get input from people with lived experience. But I think expecting all politicians to have experience of a whole range of things is unrealistic and doesn't necessarily lead to good policies.
Yvonne, what do you think?
Well, I challenge that, if I'm honest. I think what I see is no desire for system change, and what we get is stupid comments like this week where we've got a real sledgehammer response to a failing benefit system. If you have people with lived experience and if politicians actually understood what it is to navigate the system, I'm sure we would have different results, different policy changes, which are not so punitive.
Andy?
I share Yvonne's, I guess, frustrations. I think we're all concerned about the cuts that are coming. I think we all agree that we need to do better with our welfare system somehow, and it's going to be really challenging. So I share that. But what I would point out to Yvonne and anybody who's interested is that history is littered with fantastic politicians who've done incredible things, who didn't have direct experience of the issues that they dealt with. And it doesn't mean that they aren't great. And we've got, for example, Clement Attlee, a posh boy. He went to Haileybury School and Oxford. He is the man who rolled out the NHS after the war and expanded the welfare state. Conversely, we've got people like Bill Clinton in the US who did live in poverty, and Bill Clinton, according to many commentators, didn't actually do anywhere near enough for those suffering poverty in the US. And then, anecdotally, perhaps a bit slightly humorously, but there's a serious message in it, in that sports and business are littered with people without real-world experience or sufficient real-world experience of their chosen field, but have absolutely excelled. One of the best basketball coaches in the world for basketball fans was Frank Vogel, LA Lakers in 2020. They won they were the champions. He never played basketball at any serious level. So I think wisdom, knowledge, and empathy are really important, but lived experience isn't.
I mean, there's an argument, Yvonne, isn't there, in all of this, to say, yes, you do need to really listen and really engage to people with lived experience, especially when it comes to poverty. But also then you've got to be able to step back and take an overview as to how the state will deal with it.
Absolutely, I couldn't agree more. You do need both of those things. And what I would say to Andy is those few examples you've given are very few. The majority of people that we've got acting as politicians now are what I'd call career politicians. They don't have real life experience. And the problem with poverty is you really do need to understand just how cross-sectional it is. It's not just about money. It's about housing, it's about health, it's about education, it's about law and order, it's about schools, it's about every single part of our society actually impacts on that. If you are lucky enough to have had higher education, you've gone to university, you've gone to a great school, you didn't experience that, and with every good wish, you could have all the lived experience people you want on panels. But if you don't know what it's like to live on £70 a week and what that actually does to your mental health, we've got people saying we're in the middle of too much diagnosis. We're in the middle of too much diagnosis of mental health because people are being so negatively affected by poverty. And this is one of the frustrations that we have, that when it comes to policy, there is not enough understanding of just how difficult it is to be able to navigate.
But Yvonne, let me ask you then, how do we get round this? Because it'd be an interesting experiment to have key politicians' experiences. Matthew Parris did it donkeys years ago, didn't he? But it's not practical. I mean, we can't make politicians do this. We can't make them experience it.
No, I absolutely agree. What I do think is we do need more politicians coming up from places where they have experienced it. I'm not for a minute saying that we do some stupid tick box thing of live on £70 per week. That doesn't solve anything. But I would like to see more politicians who have had experience of having to live on universal credit, of having to navigate PIP. I would like to see those sorts of people sitting in the places in government where they can have a positive effect. We're never going to reform. I'm not disagreeing we need to reform welfare benefits, but we absolutely do. But there's a way of doing this that isn't quite as sledgehammer as what we're seeing this week.
OK, we're out of time with you both, I'm afraid. Andy Preston and Yvonne Hope, thank you so much for your time. Thank you.
Thank you.
It's fascinating.
It is?
It's fascinating. And actually, Yvonne is quite right. We need our MPs to be real people and not just career politicians. You have a mix of both, but you do need real people getting involved. Let's hope more people do want to get involved in politics.
Let us know what you think. Now, if you're travelling to work or school this morning, here's the traffic and travel update.
Crash Law 24 sponsors GB News Traffic and Travel Report.
The latest GB News Travel.
Good morning, I'm Russell Holding. On the M74 in South Lanarkshire, there's a lane closed northbound at junction 4 for the M73 at Maryville because of animals on the road. There are delays of up to an hour and 20 minutes. Stena Line sailings between Cairn Ryan and Belfast. On the M1 in West Yorkshire, there are northbound delays from junction 37 at Barnsley to 38 at Huddersfield after an accident further up earlier on. In Essex, the A131 is closed northbound from Little Waltham towards Great Lees, causing queues heading away from Chelmsford. And in Kent, the A21 is blocked southbound by an accident off junction 5 of the M25 with queues from junction 4.
You can stay up to date throughout the day by visiting our website gbnews.com.
Crash Law 24 sponsors GB News Traffic and Travel Report.
Still to come, Paul Coit will be here with us going through all the sport. That's next.
It's Patrick Christie's Tonight, and here we do things differently. It's explaining the absolute madness of this, doesn't it? It's explosive. I mean, this is very good. It's lively.
850. Your government sat there, Sean, and it did nothing.
It's controversial. And the Middle East has been in turmoil since before I was born. It's everything you need to kickstart your evening. Everyone's had their Weetabix tonight. I love to see it. That's Patrick Christie's Tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation,
no,
isn't it? Because the failure is...
You're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Camilla Tominey, for a frank and honest discussion with those in power that cuts through the spin and gets to the heart of the issues shaping our nation.
You haven't confirmed that you want to stand as leader, but you haven't ruled it out either.
This report basically says that he's not fit to stand trial. Is he indecisive? Incompetent? I deliver the dose of reality Westminster needs. That's the Camilla Tominey Show at 9:30 every Sunday on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hello everyone, Patrick Christie's here with an exclusive opportunity just for you, our incredible GB News viewers. We're giving you the opportunity to win a VIP studio tour right here at GB News HQ. Plus, you'll also get to meet yours truly. It's easy to enter, just head to gbnews.com/community competition and follow the easy steps. Don't miss out, enter now, and I'll see you soon at GB News. Full T's and C's apply.
Headliners on GB News 11 p.m. every night. It's got 3 top comedians going through the next day's newspapers so you don't have to read them, which is great.
That's a good point. He's lying. I mean, maybe he's not lying.
That's Headliners every night from 11 p.m. and 5 a.m. as well on GB News, Britain's news channel.
If you want your news to be straight talking, this is the nightmare for the Conservatives again. Down to earth. It's not just Nottingham where this is happening, is it? And most importantly, honest. Hard-working, middle-class taxpayers, they'll get their book thrown at them. They catch me, Martin Daubney, Monday to Friday, 3 till 6 p.m. on GB News, Britain's news channel.
I'm Christopher Hope. From pop stars to politicians, I'll interview anybody in a pub who's got a political opinion. Join me every Friday on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube or gbnews.com, or wherever you get your podcasts. This is GB News, the People's Channel.
Should we talk Lord Coe?
Let's talk about Lord Coe. Can we call him Sebastian, Lord Coe?
Very common.
Well, yeah, I know. One of the great athletes we've ever had, sport administrator. He's the man behind the 2012 Olympics, head of World Athletics, and he's running to become the president of the IOC, the International Olympic Committee.
Is he likely to get it?
I don't think he will, because it's like FIFA, you know. It's a big group of administrators, very rich people. There's royalty. There's executives. That's where there are. There's 3 people that are the favourites now. Sebastian Coe is one of them. The other one is Juan Antonio Samaranch Jr. His father was the president of the IOC for a number of years. Yeah. So he's another one. And the other one is Kirsty Coventry, who's 41 years old. She's a Zimbabwean swim and 7-time medalist at the Olympics. So It's just like voting for a new pope. It is. It's like conclave, the way they do it. So it's a matter of going in, secret ballots, then unless someone has... And then eventually whether the white smoke comes out from this place in Greece, whether they're doing it, we don't know. But hopefully we'll have an answer today. And I would like Sebastian Coe to become the IOC president.
Be very good.
But there's something that says the fact that he's British, you know?
Yeah, I know.
It's like trying to get a World Cup. It's almost very difficult. But we'll see. So hopefully the votes go to him.
You've been talking this morning about kabaddi, teasing us with kabaddi.
Yes.
I've never heard of it.
Kabaddi is a hugely popular sport. Now, in certain parts of the world, maybe not so much here, because you may not have heard of it. World Cup 2025 is being held in Wolverhampton, Walsall and Birmingham. It's the first time outside of Asia that this has happened. There's a worldwide audience going to watch this of over 500 million people.
Wow.
Now, we have someone that's going to explain it all to us. The acting president of World Kabaddi, the founder of England Kabaddi Association, is Ashok Das. Hello, Ashok. It's great to see you. Thanks a lot for your time.
Thanks for having me. Good morning.
You are the Kabaddi Daddy, correct?
Yes, I am the Kabaddi Daddy.
Listen, I want to mention this because I really want to talk about it because it is almost... I know how big it is around the world, but there's so many people in this country that haven't actually heard of it. Now, it's a great thing that it's actually come to this country, and I'm sure this is testament to you to actually bring the World Championships here.
Yes, thanks for having me. And yes, you are right. It's a growing sports now at present, and it's a community sports which was dated 4,000 plus years old, and pretty much is a community engagement. And you mentioned it's never heard. If you remember Channel 4 1993, there was an international champion trophy, and that time on Channel 4 in the morning he was showing a kabaddi. So most of people then know a little bit about kabaddi, and it's fast-growing game.
It was a long time ago. I mean, we're talking over 30 years ago it was on TV, but hopefully there'll be more of it. Now, I said a global audience of 500 million. I know the India are the World Championships, huge there. Iran, Pakistan, Bangladesh, I know it's their national sport. Could you explain to us exactly, well, I say exactly, it's going to be probably tricky, but for those that don't know, how kabaddi works? Now, this is not a ball game, is it?
Yes, you are right. You said in Asia, the people playing kabaddi is the second most watched sports in South Asia. And second to the IPL is cricket. Kabaddi is a contact sport, and it played by the two teams, and 12 members in the sport, and 7 take part into the one game. And court is 30 by 10 meter, divided in 2 halves. And the aim is the both team to score as many points to win. And then they send the raider across the opponent, and the raider aim to take 1 or 2, get the point, come back. But he have to be tasked, start, chant kabaddi, 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 hold his breath. Within 30 seconds, he have to go to opponent, find a target, take 1, and come back. If he's successful, come back without losing his chant within 30 seconds, he won the point. If he touch 1, he got the 1 point. He touched 2, he got the 2 points. So those defenders being touched, they have to leave the pitch. So then the team who defended, they have to send the raider to the opponent and start chanting kabaddi, 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 kabaddi.
Right.
And this is a very crucial moment because you're holding a breath and you're chanting a kabaddi, kabaddi, and you're moving left, right, left, right, left, right, and looking at the target. Do you need to take a risk, or do you touch or not, or come back? So this is a make you quick decision maker. So while you're playing, while you're holding breath, and you look at your target and come back and say. So this is the kabaddi. So
okay. I've got most of that. I've got to tell you, it did get a bit complicated halfway through, and I'm going to take Stephen on, who's going to be a raider and I'll be a defender. But it's one of those things you've got to see. It goes... How long does the game go on for, though? Because it sounds like it might go on for a while with the explanation, with respect there.
there's a 4 quarter, 2 quarter, 10 minutes before the half, so 5-minute break, and then the 2 quarter after this half time. So full game is 40 minutes total.
And finally, as far as England are concerned, what are our chances to actually get anywhere in this, Ashok? I know India are the world champions. Is there any chance that we may get somewhere in this? And does home advantage make any difference?
I think this is the first time ever, you mentioned outside Asia, and England got good chance to going in the final and play against a mighty giant Indian team.
Right.
And the women's, they are going to play semi-final to the Wales, and they got good chance also to play against the Indian women team. So finger crossed, the both team, I think it's the first time ever they will be in the final. Scotland also good team, so maybe they can be in the final as well.
Ashok, it's so good to speak to you. And listen, it's great that it's here in this country. It has to be seen to be understood and believed. But I think we've got the hang of it. And thanks a lot for your time. And good luck with the rest of the World Championships. It's great that it's here.
Yeah, before you go, can you chant kabaddi, 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 kabaddi?
How many times? How many times do I kabaddi, 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 kabaddi? After about 5, I'll start getting a bit tongue-twisted.
Kabaddi, kabaddi,
hold your breath, hold your breath, hold your breath. Start now. Kabaddi, 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 kabaddi.
Not bad.
Brilliant stuff.
Ashok, good to speak to you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. Thanks for having me.
It looks like quite a physical game, actually. I think we'd be quite good at it.
I think so. So explain to me the rules one more time. Did you get Did you get all that?
It is one of those, I think, where you've got to see it to really work out what's going on. But it's a good physical game.
It is, and hugely popular, and it's in the West Midlands, and if you get a chance to go and see it, go and give it a go.
Yeah, brilliant stuff. All right, lovely, Paul. Thank you very much indeed. Now, before we have a look at the papers in just a moment, let's check out the forecast for the top European hotspots.
I hope it doesn't rain.
Don't worry about it.
It'll spoil our holiday.
Relax, we're totally covered.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations forecast.
For the time being, at least, the UK is warmer than Greece, where cold winds continue to blow. Warm sunshine in Italy, but very unsettled once again for Portugal into Spain. Spells of rain, strong winds, 60-mile-per-hour wind gusts in places, and an awful lot of rain as low pressure continues to dominate. That rain spreading into the south of France as well, largely avoiding Italy, where it's going to stay warm and sunny, but this cold wind continues to blow through Greece, although temperatures will recover over the next few days.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations forecast.
Good Afternoon Britain isn't just about us. The wonderful thing about this programme is it's about everyone watching. It's an interactive programme.
Well, there absolutely is something to see here, and we're going to be talking about it more. Whether it's breaking royal news, please bring us up to date, or indeed a particularly punchy speech in the House of Commons.
Very, very curious.
We bring it to you live, and then we bring you live reaction as well.
That's Good Afternoon Britain, weekdays from midday.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Farage, Monday to Thursday from 7 p.m.
Tom Bauer is back with his latest book, The Fall of Fired. And Tom, I don't know how you do it, but you produce these books and you learn things, and we learn things about very, very important public figures. And in terms of national life, I mean, this man was around in the press for decades. The battle to buy Harrods, onto his son Dodi and Diana being killed in that tunnel in Paris. What interested me was that you actually had the opportunity originally, a long time ago, to do an authorised biography of him. What happened?
Well, what happened was he offered me a huge amount of money to stop writing the unauthorised version. I got to know Fayed very well in the early 90s because of his battle with Tiny Rowland, who owned this company Lonhro. And he helped me a lot in my biography of Tiny, which sold terribly well. And he loved it because he was very critical of Tiny. He put it up all over Harrods.
They were at war with each other.
They were at war with each other over the fact that Fayed had got Harrods. Well, then I tried to get close to him when he was doing the Cash for Questions. He was feeding all this stuff, how he bribed MPs and how he bribed all sorts of people. And I was in his office during the summer of '97 quite a lot in Harrods. And he showed me often the photographs of him and Diana, who was in the south of France, with him and Dodie.
Yeah.
So when she died, I rang up his office and said, could I go to the Ritz and see the people who'd been with her just before he died? And she died, and then he flew me across in his helicopter 24 hours later with his head of security. And I spent the whole day interviewing the people in the Ritz who'd been with Diana and Dodie and heard this horrendous story, how they had been sent with the drunken driver at Fayed's orders. But also I saw then how Iran...
GB News, the People's Channel.
The royal family is an enduring symbol of tradition, unity and pride for Britain. At GB News, we celebrate what makes this country great. In our new royal newsletter series, you can join me, Cameron Walker, for Inside the Palace, an exclusive look every week that takes you beyond the gates and brings you the very latest from those at the heart of the monarchy. Never miss a royal moment again. Sign up now. Go to gbnews.com/royal newsletter and get the latest straight to your inbox.
Just wanted to bring you some breaking news that we've had in the past few minutes, that a second small boat migrant has died in the English Channel in as many days as hundreds more have been heading for the UK. GB News can confirm that the migrant was airlifted unconscious from the waters off the coast near Dunkirk. The incident happened after a small boat with around 40 people on board arrived off the coast near a beach at Gravelines.
Keep you updated with any developments on that. In the meantime, let's have a look very briefly through the papers with Scarlett Maguire and Alex Armstrong. And Alex, can we have a look at Snow White?
Snow Woke, I think is what they're dubbing it in the critics' review of this movie. Of course, this is a Disney original. I think it's the first ever Disney movie to have come out of, obviously, all those years ago. It's been remade in CGI and real actors in it, but it's being absolutely slammed because, of course, they've replaced the Seven Dwarfs with CGI characters after a backlash. So apparently you're not allowed to have dwarves on air anymore, which I think is exactly the opposite of what the whole diversity, equity and inclusion thing was meant to do. And, of course, the main actress herself, Rachel Zegler, has come under a lot of criticism because she slammed the original. She called the original misogynist because there was a prince who came and saved the princess at the end. It's just ridiculous, isn't it? It's just
Aren't all fairy tales like that?
That's exactly right, exactly right. So I think Disney have completely really messed this one up and it's being slammed in.
Yeah, it's being complete. I mean, I really mind because it's Grimm's fairy story. They, you know, in Germany, I don't know, a couple of hundred years ago, they started collecting them. These are real old stories, and it's not. And actually, Disney's. Can I say that Disney changed the ending of Little Mermaid to make it happy rather than sad? Changed the Notre Dame thing. I mean, actually, Disney are famous for doing. But this has just taken the biscuit.
Yep, step too far.
So even you don't like it, Scarlett? Well, I'm not going to go and see it.
No.
Oh.
A lot of the papers have got "Mirror, Mirror on the Wall" as headlines, which is the wrong quote, isn't it? It's Magic Mirror on the Wall.
Well, there's a debate about that, supposedly.
No, it's not. It's in the movie. Magic Mirror on the Wall.
But apparently the written version is not Mirror, Mirror.
Yes. I mean, if you go back to the Grimm's fairy tales, which are very... I mean, the thing about Grimm's fairy tales, what's really important is they're very dark.
Yeah,
you know, they really were hardly for children, and that's why they're so good, and that's why, you know, The Little Mermaid did not have a happy ending. She you know, the prince left her because she was boring, and, you know, it was like walking on knives all the time.
Because she was boring.
Well, you know.
Scarlett's review.
Is that what it is?
It is dark, though, and the evil stepsisters in Cinderella, didn't they chop their toes off to squeeze into the shoes?
They did.
In Grimm's fairy tales.
No, absolutely. I mean, so right from the beginning, Disney has made everything much more anodyne, and this is just ridiculous. But you do wonder, nobody wants it to work.
No, they don't. Well, just as well, because it won't. Thank you both. Been good to see you this morning.
Let's get a check on the weather with Aidan McGibbon.
Even though we'll see a cloudy start, it'll be a bright outlook for the rest of the day. Boxed Solar, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Hello, a very good morning to you. Welcome to the latest update from the Met Office for GB News. A sunny day for many of us once again, but with an increased breeze. However, that breeze is coming up from the south, so it's likely to be the warmest day of the year so far. Well, we start off with a widespread frost across northern parts of the UK, but it will soon warm up with plenty of sunny skies. And for the vast majority, it stays dry and bright throughout the day. However, some places will see a bit more cloud compared with recent days. Certainly some cloud building up through Wales, the Midlands and East Anglia into the afternoon. Where we do get those long spells of sunshine, though, temperatures are likely to reach widely mid to high teens and in some spots 20 or 21 Celsius, making it the warmest day of the year so far. And we keep those clear spells going into the evening. There'll be some hazy high cloud about for Scotland at this stage, but otherwise plenty of fine weather, temperatures still in the double figures at 5 p.m. Northern Ireland likewise a bit more cloud in the sky compared with recent evenings, but even here actually plenty of dry and fine weather. Always the chance of a shower across the Midlands, northern parts of England, but you'd be unlucky to be caught in one of these. For the vast majority, it is going to be dry and warm as we end the day, 16 or 17 degrees even at 6 or 7 p.m. But a change is on the way, and the first signs of that will be across Cornwall overnight. The breeze picks up and some heavy showers arrive by midnight, increasingly wet by dawn. Perhaps even some flashes of lightning out to the sea areas. But otherwise, with an increased breeze for many places, it's going to be a largely frost-free start to Friday. But it's also going to be a generally cloudier start to the day, particularly across western and southern parts of the country. Still some bright spells in the east, and even in the west it will be bright from time to time and mostly dry. But increasingly there will be these spells of rain or showers moving up from Cornwall into Devon, South Wales and perhaps Northern Ireland. With the breeze, it's going to feel cooler, but temperatures will still reach 19 Celsius.
Expect a warm front, moving from the kitchen right through to the rest of the house. Boxed Boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
We're giving you the chance to splash out this season with an incredible £17,777 in tax-free cash. Jet off on your dream holiday, treat yourself to something special, or just save it for a rainy day. You'll also receive 2 brand new designer watches and a Mulberry handbag, so you can really look the part this spring. For another chance to win the lot, text cash to 63232. One entry costs £2 plus 1 standard network rate message, or text bonus to 63232. 5 entries cost £5 plus 1 standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start from just £2. Call 0903 681 3232. Calls cost £2 plus your network access charge, or post your name and number to GB12 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 6 p.m. on the 4th of April. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Exciting news. Every Friday, my Patrick Christie's Tonight Show is going to have a twist to it. We're welcoming some special guests. You. That's right, on Fridays I'm going to be doing my show in front of a live studio audience, because this show is about you and what you have to say. It's going to be the same big debates, same big topics, same big opinions, but every Friday night at 9 p.m. you are invited to come on down to Patrick Christie's Tonight to be a part of the action. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Camilla Tominey, for a frank and honest discussion with those in power that cuts through the spin and gets to the heart of the issues shaping our nation.
You haven't confirmed that you want to stand as leader, but you haven't ruled it out either.
This report basically says that he's not fit to stand trial. Is he indecisive? Incompetent?
I deliver the dose of reality Westminster needs. That's the Camilla Tominey Show at 9:30 every Sunday on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
The royal family is an enduring symbol of tradition, unity and pride for Britain. At GB News, we celebrate what makes this country great. In our new royal newsletter series, you can join me, Cameron Walker, for Inside the Palace, an exclusive look every week that takes you beyond the gates and brings you the very latest from those at the heart of the monarchy. Never miss a royal moment again. Sign up now. Go to gbnews.com/royal newsletter and get the latest straight to your inbox.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation, isn't it?
No,
Because the failure is...
You're
the failure
deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff.
Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood.
So join me on Jubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Good morning. Bolstering British defences in a time of tension.
Barrow in Furness to become a blueprint for defence spending to boost communities across the country.
But the Conservatives accuse the Prime Minister of reading their defence rulebook.
We welcome the fact that Labour are stealing some of our policies when it comes to tackling welfare spending and obviously increasing defence spending. But there is clear blue water between us and Labour.
Does a government loophole mean criminals can evade justice by changing gender? Well, a new report urges the NHS and police to stop prioritising gender over sex.
Presidents Trump and Zelensky have patched up their differences in a phone call. The White House promising a peace deal is very much on track. But is the Kremlin singing from the same hymn sheet?
A royal boost from our armed forces as the Prince of Wales makes his first visit to Estonia to show support for the troops fending off Russian aggression.
His visit comes at a critical time of global tensions, a trip that will take in the plight of Ukrainian refugees, energy security, but crucially, NATO defence.
Also this morning, headaches, vomiting, nosebleeds. Is a landfill site in Fleetwood to blame? We're going to be talking to the locals.
Thousands of local residents here in Fleetwood are backing the Stop the Stink campaign, with a local primary school also attending Downing Street today to hand in a petition to the Prime Minister to try and close this landfill site.
It's World Happiness Day, and Finland has been named the happiest country for the 8th year in a row. But where does the UK rank?
And in sport breaking news, some sad news. Former Formula One team owner and television pundit Eddie Jordan has died at the age of 76 after a battle with prostate cancer.
A chilly start out there for many of us, but it's likely to be the warmest day of the year so far by the afternoon. How high will the temperatures get? I'll have the full details in the forecast coming up soon.
It's just gone 9 o'clock. I'm Stephen Dixon.
I'm Ellie Costello, and this is GB News Breakfast.
Well, let's just start with that breaking news about Eddie Jordan. Paul is here.
Yeah.
I mean, we knew he'd been ill for some time.
Yeah, I mean, we've heard about this, the fact that he was ill and he'd been suffering from prostate cancer. And we've heard he's just passed away at the age of 76, and this is this morning. And it's as the new Formula One season's begun. I mean, this man was everything about Formula One. So not only did he own his own team, which he started back in 1991, everybody knew him. Everybody had high opinions. Everybody had opinions of Eddie Jordan, whether they loved him or whether they didn't like him, but always very outspoken, spoke about whatever he thought, but knew the sport inside and out. And that's why he was such a popular pundit as well.
And such a character.
Incredible, yeah, a real incredible character. Sport needs characters. If we go back over the years, whether it be any sport, it's always great characters that people will always remember, and it's those, and it seems that sport has almost been sanitised over the past few years. People take it very seriously. There's not many personalities, but unfortunately the world of sport has lost another one, because Eddie Jordan truly was a one-off and a great personality, and it is certainly going to be a great loss to F1 and a great loss to sport as well. It'd be interesting to see how the Grand Prix that's taking place in Singapore over the weekend, how he'll be remembered, because it's certainly someone that should be honoured and should be remembered by the sport, because he was one of the greats.
It's interesting because it's one of, even people who aren't into their F1 will think, oh, I know the name, and then you see his face, and you're like, I know the face.
And you'd always know him.
You would always know him.
Yeah,
absolutely. Outspoken, which I think was quite... I mean, he could be a fierce fella.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, nobody... No, even though if you would see him and you meet him and he seems, you know, that almost softly spoken Irish lilt that he would talk with... But nobody gets to where they get to, not only in business, but in sport, in anything, without having that fierce side. And it's certainly something that Eddie Jordan would have had, but would have chosen his times when you would have heard it. But again, I think the most important thing that we remember about Eddie Jordan is not only being a successful man in F1, but also the fact that he wouldn't be afraid to say what he thought.
Yeah.
People get in trouble from time to time, and there's, you know, and even here, you know, we know what it's like, but it's very important that people can say what they think, and Eddie Jordan was certainly one of those, and he'd certainly be very fondly thought of.
And it's that ability to say exactly what he thought that made him so successful later on as a television pundit.
Yeah, exactly. Because it's not only that, but as I say, he knew the sport inside out. You know that you're speaking to or hearing from someone that is a total expert on the sport, knew everything about it, and would speak from the heart as well, which would take a lot of beating, because that's what you really want to hear in a pundit, someone that knows what they're talking about and also says it like it is. And that was Eddie Jordan.
Who were the big names that drove for Team Jordan? Do we know? I don't.
Oh, you know what? We're going back to 1991. I mean, there were 4 Grand Prix over 15 years. And see, the thing is, it was such a difficult thing to have your own team, because the money that is involved and sponsorship that's involved, and this is why you don't get many teams, because otherwise you would have hundreds of teams involved in it. So to actually have his own team and then to move away from that and then go on to the punditry side.
Michael Schumacher drove for him, as did Damon Hill.
Early days, early days before they went to Ferrari.
They got the career breaks with Eddie.
Yeah.
What legacy?
Yeah, it'd be interesting. We'll hear from the likes of Damon Hill later on.
We will. I mean, this is something that's just broken. This is literally within 5 minutes. We've just heard about that he's passed away. But Eddie Jordan, a true great Formula One, very sad news, died of prostate cancer at the age of 76.
It's no age at all, is it? All right, Paul, for now. Thank you.
Thanks, Whitty. Now, the Prince of Wales is visiting Estonia to learn about how they're bolstering NATO's front lines.
Well, while in the capital, Tallinn, His Royal Highness will also learn more about how the country has responded to the ongoing conflict in Ukraine. It's all, of course, very close by.
Yes, well, let's speak now to GB News royal correspondent Cameron Walker, who joins us from Tallinn in Estonia. Morning, Cameron.
Good morning, Ellie. Well, Prince William, it's his first ever visit to Estonia, and of course it comes at a critical time for global security. But this was a trip actually in the planning for at least 6 months. But of course it is highly symbolic because Prince William is the future head of British armed forces, and this is in the context of Russia's continued offensive against Ukraine. Baltic nations like Estonia increasingly concerned that they could be next on Russia's hit list. And the UK plays a crucial role as a NATO partner in defending nations such as Estonia. And the largest permanent deployment anywhere in the world of British Army troops is right here in Estonia, 900 of them based at the Tapa Army base, which is about 62 miles from the Russian border, or an hour and a half's drive. And Prince William will be visiting that base in his role as Colonel-in-Chief of the Mercian Regiment. Now, the Mercian Regiment have just arrived here, and they are taking over the battle group from the Royal Dragoon Guards, which is Prince Edward, Prince William's uncle's regiment, which means William is the second member of the royal family to visit that army base this year alone, perhaps emphasising the crucial role the royal family plays, the British government even places on the royal family in terms of soft power and the images it projects around the world. But today here in Tallinn, Prince William will be visiting a school set up after the Ukrainian war started to continue the education of Ukrainian children, because 60,000 Ukrainian refugees fled to Estonia at the start of the conflict. And if you go by population size, that's the equivalent of 3 million refugees descending on the United Kingdom. Prince William, we're told, is very keen on the welfare of those children, Ukrainian refugees, so he'll be hearing from the school counsellor there about their mental health support and also how they've been settling into their new lives here in Estonia. But as a global statesman, as Prince William continues to be dubbed, he will be having a bilateral meeting with the president of Estonia. Of course, the country, a former Soviet Union state, but it's kind of got away from that now since 1991 and sees itself more of a small tech-savvy startup. Lots of investments in energy security, particularly perhaps good for us here in the United Kingdom because it's getting away from over-reliance on China in terms of making solar panels and the rest of it. It could well be made right here in Estonia because, of course, it's a European Union member, it's part of a euro and has billions of dollars worth of tech startups right here in the country. But I think the main image really is going to be over the next few days of Prince William, the future king, so close to the Russian border and the message that sends out to the world and NATO's defence.
Yeah, it's soft power, as you say, Cameron, but, you know, running pretty close to the edge, it has to be said. All right, for now, thanks very much indeed.
Thank you. Now, have you sprung into action yet with our spring giveaway? Well, it's your chance to win a fabulous designer handbag, two highly sought after, designer watches, and an incredible £17,777 in tax-free cash.
£77?
Yeah.
What?
Precisely. It's an amazing prize package and it could all be yours. Here are the details that you need.
Spring has sprung with a great British giveaway, and we're giving you the chance to splash out this season with an incredible £17,777 in tax-free cash. Jet off on your dream holiday, treat yourself to something special, or just save it for a rainy day. You'll also receive two brand new designer watches and a Mulberry handbag, so you can really look the part this spring. For another chance to win the lot, text cash to 63232. One entry costs £2 plus one standard network rate message, or text bonus to 63232. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start from just £2. Call 0903 681 3232. Calls cost £2 plus your network access charge, or post your name and number to GB12 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrants must be 18 or over. Lines close at 6 p.m. on the 4th of April. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Yeah, best of luck. Now, as we've been saying all morning, the government's announced a load of funding packages for defence, but it also includes looking at the community side of it as well. Barrow-in-Furness, which some reports are calling a port. It's not a port, let me tell you, but it is a shipyard. Anyway, they're going to support Britain's future submarine building. Let's talk to the Armed Forces Minister, Luke Pollard, who joins us now. Royal Barrow-in-Furness, as it's going to be known, Minister, my neck of the woods. I know it very, very well, and most of my family worked in the shipyards over the years. This is an important boost, for our defences, of course, but it's also fascinating to see how at least the government seems to be determined that it will boost an area which is desperate for investment.
Absolutely. So the Prime Minister and the Defence Secretary are in Barrow today to lay the keel on HMS Dreadnought, which is the latest nuclear submarine that will carry our independent nuclear deterrent on its silent patrols in the North Atlantic. That nuclear deterrent has kept us safe for decades, and the investment in the new submarines is not only investment in Barrow, it's investment in the nuclear supply chain right across the country. Nuclear reactors from Derby, engineering from constituencies from the north of England to the southwest where I represent. It is precisely because defence should be an engine for growth that we're investing more of our defence budget in British firms, because we want the contracts staying in the United Kingdom rather than going overseas, contributing to our growth and to creating good, high-skilled jobs, especially for our young people who can benefit from a lifetime of opportunity in the defence industry.
So after the Prime Minister's been in Barrow this morning, it's thought that he's going to head down to London and take part in that meeting of senior military leaders to talk about the coalition of the willing, as we keep hearing. How many countries are thought to be involved in that plan for a peacekeeping mission in Ukraine?
Well, today we're hosting around 30 countries from Europe and beyond, looking at what is the military planning that needs to take place to design that force. So as an example, if one nation's providing fast combat air, like a Typhoon jet, for instance, how do we make sure it can operate in the environment alongside other allies? How do we make sure that if it's being diverted from a previous tasking elsewhere, that commitment is backfilled so we're not leaving any gaps in our deterrence? It's that sleeve rolled up approach that we're hosting today with our permanent joint headquarters, the key strategic planning base for the British military, hosting our allies to really understand how everyone's contributions can come together to be the most effective, credible deterrence force that will support our friends in Ukraine when peace hopefully comes.
But in terms of that deterrence, what's not going to be involved in building future EU deterrence is Britain being involved in the EU Arms Fund. 150 billion euros, and what, we're excluded from bidding for any of those contracts?
Well, I think it's quite normal, as the United Kingdom is no longer part of the EU, for the EU to make decisions and funding for its own members. But let's be absolutely clear. Britain has a world-class defence industry. We have partnerships with European nations already. We signed a new deep defence deal with Germany only a few months ago to prepare a new set of procurements for capabilities that will be fielded by the UK military as well as the German military. And when the Prime Minister said that he wanted European nations to step up, look, all European nations need to spend more on defence in these more difficult times. They need to invest in more capabilities. I know that the conversations we're having to deliver our manifesto commitment of a security pact with the EU will produce a closer opportunities for our UK defence firms. But those defence firms are already benefiting from increased defence spending in the UK and overseas, because if we increase our collective spending and the ability for us to operate together, we create more security for our continent and deter Russian aggression, because we know that Putin wants to subjugate, he wants to conquer the entirety of Ukraine, and he doesn't want to stop there. This is a man that used chemical weapons on the streets of Britain, let's not forget. That's why it's right that we invest in our armed forces and we direct more of that increased defence spending as a defence being an engine for growth at UK firms.
Yeah, look, and it's going to be very, excuse me, very welcomed by an awful lot of people that we are increasing defence spending and seeing it in action as announced and laying the keel today and what have you. And it's a long-term project. However, you can't have your cake and eat it, and the money's got to come from somewhere. We've got this emergency budget spring statement in a week where we're expecting severe spending cuts, aren't we? I mean, rather than raise taxes. I mean, it sounds like a Conservative policy, frankly, but are we heading back into a time of austerity?
No, we're not. And it's wrong for me to speculate what might be in the Chancellor's spring statement. But we've committed as a party that we'll only have one budget a year because we need to get our public finances back on an even keel. We've seen what happens when a government ignores fiscal rules. When Liz Truss was in charge, spiked mortgage rates, put hundreds of pounds on people's monthly budgets right across the country. That's why when we were elected in July last year, we made the commitment to bring economic stability to our country. That means taking tough decisions, just as the decision the Prime Minister's taken to increase defence spending by moving it from the funding allocated to international development to defence was a difficult decision. It was the right decision in these difficult times. And what I'm expecting to see next week is the Chancellor continuing to invest in the public services that we all rely on. NHS waiting lists coming down for the 5th month in a row, that investment going into the NHS, but also being clear that we have more work to do. We won't be able to fix the problems we inherited overnight, but hopefully your viewers will be able to see progress in the NHS, in building homes, in supporting our armed forces that we've made in the 8 months or so since we've taken office.
But these proposed cuts to Whitehall budgets, so up to 7% for some departments, are the most significant since austerity in the 2010s. So many Labour MPs and economists are arguing the scale of these cuts, especially in terms of welfare and public services, this is mirroring austerity measures that we've seen previously. This is austerity 2.0.
No, I don't think it is. I mean, in the Chancellor's budget, she increased public spending by 3%, an extra £20 billion for the National Health Service. But let's also be clear that the changes we're making to welfare is about helping people into work. Look, it's not right that 1 in 8 of our young people are neither learning or earning. We need more people back into the workforce. That's why the changes to welfare that we've announced as a government is specifically designed to help people who are currently on disability benefits to try work and to transition to work without losing that support. So extra support in job centres to help people who want to work to be able to get back into work, something that hasn't happened for many years, and extra support for those people on universal credit with an above inflation rise. Now, these are the changes we're making because ultimately I want to see disabled people be able to achieve their potential. Where there's long-term health conditions where they can't work, it's right we continue to support them as we plan to do. But where they can return to work, we need to provide the support and the system that enables them to do that. The current welfare system is broken. It's not delivering that change. And I expect that your viewers will want to see people who can work actually work. That's what these changes are designed to deliver.
OK, Minister, good to see you this morning. Thank you.
Thank you.
Now, do stay with us. Still to come, residents in Fleetwood say the local landfill is making them sick. We're investigating that next.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation,
Because
the failure is...
You're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff.
Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood.
So join me on Dubes & Kerr weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
It's Patrick Christie's Tonight, and here we do things differently. It's explaining the absolute madness of this, doesn't it? It's explosive. I mean, this is very good. It's lively.
850. Your government sat there, Sean, and it did nothing.
It's controversial. And the Middle East has been in turmoil since before I was born. It's everything you need to kickstart your evening. Everyone's had their Weetabix tonight. I love to see it. That's Patrick Christie's Tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Good Afternoon Britain isn't just about us. The wonderful thing about this programme is it's about everyone watching. It's an interactive programme.
Well, there absolutely is something to see here, and we're going to be talking about it more. Whether it's breaking royal news, please bring us up to date, or indeed a particularly punchy speech in the House of Commons.
Very, very curious.
We bring it to you live, and then we bring you live reaction as well.
That's Good Afternoon Britain, weekdays from midday.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
The royal family is an enduring symbol of tradition, unity and pride for Britain. At GB News, we celebrate what makes this country great. In our new royal newsletter series, you can join me, Cameron Walker, for Inside the Palace, an exclusive look every week that takes you beyond the gates and brings you the very latest from those at the heart of the monarchy. Never miss a royal moment again. Sign up now. Go to gbnews.com/royal newsletter and get the latest straight to your inbox.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK,
we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
If you want your news to be straight talking, this is the nightmare for the Conservatives again. Down to earth. It's not just Nottingham where this is happening, is it? And most importantly, honest. Hard-working, middle-class taxpayers, they'll get their book thrown at them. They catch me, Martin Daubney, Monday to Friday, 3 till 6 p.m. on GB News, Britain's news channel.
I'm Christopher Hope. From pop stars to politicians, I'll interview anybody in a pub who's got a political opinion. Join me every Friday on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube or gbnews.com, or wherever you get your podcasts.
This is GB News, the People's Channel.
There's a stink in Fleetwood and it's upsetting the locals. What's going on? We've sent Sophie Reaper to find out. Morning, Sophie.
Good morning to you both. We've been given a brief respite here this morning. The wind has turned and the smell seems to have faded. I'm told reliably that this is only about a 2 out of 10 that we're smelling right now, although it is still pretty foul. So to talk about that, I'm joined now by two of the local residents here in Fleetwood, Steve and Elaine. Good morning to you both. Now, Elaine, I want to come to yourself first because I know that this has affected both of you medically. I want to hear about that.
I started suffering with a cough over 12 months ago, since this tip opened. It's a constant cough, morning, noon and night. There's no respite from it. I suffer anxiety. I've had a chest x-ray, clear. I've had a lung function test last week, no asthma. But on the inhaler, indefinitely, the doctor has now recorded it's the landfill.
So on your medical records, it states?
On my medical record, it states it's the landfill. Disgusting.
Now, I want to talk to you about the Stop the Stink campaign. What do the local residents want to see here happen?
We need to see the responsible body take the correct action and close this site down. It's disgusting. We're breathing poisonous gases. It's not just about the stench, it's the long-term effects as well that it's doing to everyone that lives in this community. It just needs to stop. Someone needs to take the correct action and close this site for good.
Steve, Elaine, thank you so much. Now, I just want to quickly read out a couple of responses that we've had in from Transwaste, who own the site. They say previous intermittent odour problems were caused by work to bring Cell 5 up to operational standards. These problems have now been resolved and the cell has been completely capped and sealed. Unfortunately, the new Cell 6 started producing gas much earlier and at a higher rate than expected. As a result, we've stopped waste deliveries and are working to cap Cell 6 with a thick layer of clay in order to completely seal it. We will then install 11 deep gas wells to maximise gas extraction from the cell and resolve the odour issue. We also had a response from Wyre Borough Council. They say we fully understand the severity of this matter for all affected residents. The council continue to meet regularly with the relevant parties and are applying pressure to the Environment Agency to take the necessary action. The leader of the council, Michael Vincent, and the local MP recently jointly wrote to the Environment Agency asking them to use their regulatory powers to address this issue and calling for the suspension or closure of the site. The council does not have the power to close the site. So it seems that there's a lot of questions to be asked, but right now the residents here in Fleetwood, they want action. They want the smell to stop and they want the site to be closed down.
OK, Sophie Reaper there for us. Thank you very much.
All right, let's get a quick check on what's coming up at 9:30 with Andrew and Bev. Morning, you two.
Morning. We're going to be reflecting on the life of Eddie Jordan, actually. First of all, that breaking news this morning that he's died. I used to work in Formula 1 for a few years, so I did meet him on a few occasions. I think family probably was first and foremost important to him, so our thoughts go out to his family this morning. Commissioned by the Conservatives, which has now come out about whether public bodies should be recording gender or biological sex.
They're eradicating sex. It's all about gender. It's outrageous.
That's coming up at 9:30. That's it from us. We'll be back at 6 o'clock tomorrow morning. Here's your weather.
Crash Law 24 sponsors GB News Traffic and Travel Report.
The latest GB News Travel.
Good morning, I'm Russell Holding. On the M6 in Lancashire, 2 out of 4 lanes are closed southbound at junction 31 at Samlesbury after a car caught fire, causing queues. The M65 in Lancashire is partly blocked westbound by an accident between junctions 4 and 3 near Blackburn, causing queues. On the M1 in Bedfordshire, there's a lane closed southbound after an accident between junctions 13 and 12 near Bedford, causing queues. In Suffolk, the A14 is closed westbound between junctions 53 and 52 from the White House interchange to Claydon, causing queues. And in Kent, the A21 is closed southbound off the M25 after a lorry caught fire, with long delays back along the M25 each way towards there.
You can stay up to date throughout the day by visiting our website gbnews.com.
Crash Law 24 sponsors GB News Traffic and Travel Report.
I'm Michael Portillo. This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
Now, I'm furious with our director this morning because I said this is not breaking news, and so he's gone all out.
He's gone all out.
Breaking news everywhere. Because guess what, ladies and gents? The lineup for Glastonbury 2025 has been released.
It's great.
Who cares?
It's
frankly?
great.
Who cares?
I really like it.
I couldn't give a monkeys.
Right, I'll tell you.
An Arctic monkeys.
Well, they're not playing, are they?
I have no idea.
I don't think they are.
No, I don't think they
But
are.
US pop star Olivia Rodrigo